It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Yeah! No fear. I remember that which matters most. We're still here after going against these machines. You know, one thing, Phranq, we started off yakking it, yo, what's up and stuff. What shall we talk about? And then he brings up, he's going, hey, there's like a Hong Kong link with Singapore, the gold bourse or exchange that they're doing. And what? And he goes, yeah, you know, I didn't think you'd care about that, you know. So I go, hell, I don't. This is what we're going to do. We're going to play just a few seconds of this video, and it's called, you know, it's from Goldcore, which is, you know, an exchange of, and they got a podcast, like they all got podcasts. But he was listening to this, and I'll just start this for a little bit. Now, listen to what's happening, okay? I just heard 10 seconds of it, and I already know what's coming. All right, here we go.
Because what is being constructed in Hong Kong to be ready in just over a month's time is not just a trading system. It is the foundation of a parallel financial architecture, one where gold, not dollar, sits at the center of global settlement. And the infrastructure to make that real is already operational. For decades, the global financial market system rested on a remarkably simple arrangement. Oil was priced in dollars, and trade settled in dollars. Central banks stored dollars, and when nations became wealthy from exporting commodities, they recycled those dollars straight back into US treasuries. This became known as the petrodollar system, and it gave the United States extraordinary power, not just economic, but geopolitical power. Because if the world needs your currency to buy energy, to settle trade, hold reserves, then the world is effectively underwriting your deficits, your debt, and your monetary policy. But what happens when countries begin looking for a way around that? As we have commented on many times, geopolitical friction across multiple trade corridors has accelerated precisely that search. And a recent report in the FT that China's cross-border interbank payment system, known as SIPS, has seen record transaction volumes as countries increasingly settle trade in renminbi rather than dollars. Now, don't think that this is just about currencies, because it is about something so much more important than that. This is about gold. And specifically, it is about a parallel financial architecture being systematically constructed, one where gold sits alongside the renminbi as a neutral settlement asset. Now, if that sounds a little bit dramatic, consider what Hong Kong is building right now. They are building a state-backed gold clearing system designed to rival parts of London's bullion market. And this isn't about tomorrow, it's not fully, but the infrastructure is in motion. And what it means for the gold in your portfolio isn't really what most people are expecting. But we do have to be a little bit clear about one thing. London is still seen as the center of the global gold market. The LBMA remains dominant. Most gold trading still clears through London infrastructure. The dollar still dominates oil trade. And anyone telling you the dollar is collapsing next Tuesday is probably trying to sell you something other than gold. But history rarely changes everything all at once. It changes gradually, and then it feels sudden. And what we may well be witnessing is the slow construction of a parallel system. This is one that becomes more attractive every time sanctions are imposed or reserves are frozen or countries discover that access to the dollar system comes with political conditions attached.
Creators, take these three apps I built to run my business.
All right. Are we feeling it? Are we feeling it? Are we feeling it? What do you think, Phranq?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure if I like my dollar bill fiat right in my wallet. It's feeling lighter every time I look at it or feel it. Now, I mean, first off, that's gold core. I know Ernie said that earlier, but for those of you who just like a real just in and out quick expose of not just buy gold or anything, but as far as the infrastructure it's been going on, and it deals with the international markets, which I'm always into the international kind of stuff. So, but yeah, you're watching the pipeline. And the last comment I was mentioning Ernie earlier is like she said, London, the London Exchange is still the main exchange. It obviously was a Western nation when everything was settled in the West, but everything's going from the West to the East. I mean,
yeah, so was Walmart until Amazon. I mean, it's the infrastructure being set.
No, exactly. Global power is all switching to the East. The economies are all moving to the East. I mean, it's just, the whole, the next 100 years or more, it's going to be dominant in the East. Culturally as well. Years. I mean, just think, well, probably more than that. I mean, it'd
be freaking months. It happens slowly, all at once.
No, you didn't hear what I said. I didn't say in 100 years. I'm saying that this movement towards the East is going to be a dominance that's going to be at least 100 years of dominance in the East, probably even longer than that. I didn't mean it's going to take 100 years. I'm saying, it's going to be, this is like America and the West were dominant for the last couple hundred years. I'm saying, in my opinion, the East is going to be the next West for the next few hundred years. And that's including even culture, not to get into all that right now, but look at how all the K-pop, all the Japanese anime. No one watches Disney. They're all doing anime, from Japan. The music is all the Korean music. Just ask your grandkids. They're all listening to K-pop. So it's like the Eastern culture, the financial system, the power structure, it's all moving to the East, which is why I'm always into the international. But anyway, the gold exchange was focused always in London. But over time, as the Western markets became more obviously fiat, but became over leveraged, whereas like 7 ounces of gold for every gold that actually exists on paper. And so so London went the same direction that America did, as over leverage and printing more stuff up and nothing matters. And so suddenly London focuses more on the paper gold. And therefore the counter argument or the counterpoint was China going, wait a minute, you guys are so over leveraged. Why don't we come up with our own version in the East? And we're going to just focus on good old-fashioned gold and not the paper. And that's where the China exchange really began. But, they had a lot of restrictions at first, but they were laying the pipe, buying up all the gold, which they've been doing for years now, getting all the contracts with the gold mines in Africa. We've talked about all this on the show. And America's just been silent, not caring, being distracted in the Oscars and whatever. And now you're seeing all of that pipeline, like a plan comes together, like Hannibal Smith from the A-Team, and it's coming together now. And now they're dominating the physical, and now they're creating the pipeline for BRICS to start using gold to get around the dollar. Anyway, check out Gold Core if you're interested. It's pretty no nonsense, and they're not advertising anything. But go ahead.
Okay. Now, the bottom line is this. The petrodollar depends on when they went off the gold standard, Nixon, 71, 72, around in there, they go, all right, Kissinger goes over, and this is how it's going to work. You're only going to sell your oil in U.S. dollars. Okay, well then people got to use U.S. dollars. Well, they hold U.S. dollars. They have them in reserve U.S. dollars. They transact in U.S. dollars. Well, then they receive U.S. dollars. So now they got a crap ton of U.S. dollars. Well, what shall we do with this U.S. dollars? Well, they invest at low percentage, or it's considered liquid. It's like a bank account. It's kind of your money, and you can have it now until you can't, and that doesn't spark all this BRICS stuff. Well, what happened was Saudi Arabia and the other oil producers, they would buy U.S. treasuries. We sold all this oil. Now we got a bunch of these dollars. What shall we do with them? Well, they would buy U.S. treasuries, which was U.S. debt. Well, now that they're started to use the U.S. dollar as an economic weapon, and they would seize it from Russia and seize it from here and sanction this and sanction that, and you're not allowed, and you're the 600-pound gorilla sitting on your money that's kind of not yours anymore. They go, Really? Okay. Well, so then they start their own thing. They do their BRICS. They get, and a lot of, Brazil, India, these are, not small countries. And they're looking for an alternative to the U.S. SWIFT system. It's a wiring, transfer, money thing. So then they start to create the desire, the options, the technology, the encryption, their own cryptos or whatever. They, their own tokenization, their own. And then you have Hong Kong, which was a financial center for never and always, and then it was taken over by the Chinese. And then they're working with Singapore. Singapore, definitely U.S. dollar, U.S. influence, U.S. of America. Well, when you got Hong Kong and Singapore doing it, India starting to go out. A decade and a half ago, I remember India using, about 200 billion or million or whatever, bunch of oil from Iran with gold transferred. This is already this is infrastructure. This is infrastructure. This is highway system. This is ones and zeros, data, the mechanism by which this stuff happens. Amazon lost money for, decade, 2 decades, forever, until they couldn't lose money anymore. They were investing in and building out the infrastructure and getting kind of whatever, and they just kept throwing it back into it. Amazon keeps losing money, yeah, but they're building infrastructure. Just last week, they came out, well, here we go. It's now Amazon services. Anyone can start a business, have their product, kind of what they do now. You go to Amazon, you'll see Ernie soap or something up there, and you can order it, and they do, and then they either warehouse it, they distribute it, or you do direct delivery, or whatever. They have the infrastructure. Now they're offering a service to where you just plug in your business. You don't have to make a deal with them. They don't have to, agree to hold it or do what. You're using their trucks, their planes, their delivery system. It's like,
wow.
eBay met FedEx or something, and PayPal. I mean, it's all one thing to where Amazon now is a logistics hub for any small business starting up. Boom. Delivery, packaging, shipping, everything. And, and marketing. I mean, it's you almost can't tell the difference between what Amazon does now, but now for small business, because the infrastructure is there. They have such increased capacity because of AI and robots. Here we go. Well, why would I go to Walmart? Why would I go to, I live out in the middle of the desert. I ordered everything. Then you have FedEx. There's a couple of bolts I need for the tractor if they got the wrong ones at the whatever. Oh, heavens and Murgatroyd, we'll get delivered. You ain't delivering out in the middle of the desert, I can tell you that, So I get these few bolts I just need. Well, what they do is overnight it from Prescott unit up there. We'll get FedEx calls Donna and says, hey, I'm so sorry. The last mile to the mailbox thing, FedEx, I don't know, has some spat going on with the United States Postal Service and won't do it. They're, posted, we're not. So, okay, so it's got to be delivered to my daughter's house, which is, further away. But they called and they said, we're going over there. What about Amazon? Has Amazon got a thing with the United States Postal Service? They did. So this is going to be in competition with all kinds of freight forwarders, all kinds of, and Amazon be international. And that last leg of whatever kind of, man, you got a drone, Captain, deliver it that same freaking in an hour and drop it and thank you very much. This is what's happening. It's bypassing all of the other stuff, Amazon. Then how do you pay for it? With what money? Backed by what? What you're seeing going on Hong Kong, Singapore, the BRICS, and everything, they're like Phranq said, they're laying the pipe. And when this pipe goes live, any kind of research I just do, just by July. So this summer, it's going to be U.S. You better be at war with the entire planet. You know, to have any say of anything, and then everybody's, we don't want to do. What happens if you have a war and nobody came? You know, we don't care. You know, you go do we'll use any and everybody else. So the way they're using the dollar, the petrodollar, as a weapon, as a control system, as a control mechanism, what happens when you abandon that? Then what do we do? Aircraft carriers, that's it. Force, threat of force, that's all we got. That's all we're going to. How does that work on individual anarchist decisions of, you know, Ahmed, what's his face, at 15 years old, gets up out of bed, and he don't give a shit what you say or do or sanction or whatever. They got other systems. The system is being put in place to bypass everything that America offered anybody. Because what was America? Well, other than Hollywood, it was, you know, the idea of America. What was the reality? All of a sudden it becomes a hurdle, becomes a mess. The reasons for doing it of property rights being protected, and you can complain to somebody or sue or have, you know, your day in court, or I'm right and they're wrong and they're doing it wrong and you're going to enforce what is it? It's a kleptocracy. It's just, you know, whatever the hell Bibi tells Trump to do. So this, and then we're going to get into the Thomas Massie race, and that just tells you everything you need to know right there. So this is how it manifests itself. So when Phranq talks about Hong Kong and Singapore creating the infrastructure for gold transactions, and you can settle in renminbi, which is, you know, Chinese yuan for gold backed of whatever, we're effing done. This is it. This is how it happens. This is what you look for. This is what we've been fearing. This is what you wait on, and then tomorrow ain't like today. This is how it happens. And people are whistling past the graveyard, you know, going, USA, USA what? What are you talking about? What do you think is going on here? So, how does that manifest to me? Plant more trees, get more food, have more power. I'm telling you, it's going to get bad. And I fear, Donna and I took a few days, we had to go into town doing stuff, and finally got my tractor back. Yay! You know, I hadn't got off the trailer yet. But I mean, man, I missed my tractor. So, yeah, we had whatever. So this is we got to get on it. It's starting to get hot. I mean, it's still nice now, but I mean, you know, I just feel the sun amble coming. But it gives you longer days too. We get more stuff done. So we're just stealing our minds for a lot of the stuff that we're doing here. I got a telegram to somebody that follows the channel, whatever, wants to come by this weekend. Hell yeah. Bring gloves. You come visit me. You're not sucking up my time. I got shit to do. You can help, you know. You're not willing to help, go away. I'm not a tour guide, you know. So this is getting ready for what is something wicked this way is here. And it is a battle. It's a philosophical thing. It's a financial thing. It is a principle thing. And when you have Marjorie Taylor Greene being called a traitor for wanting to, you know, hold people accountable for whatever the hell, all of a sudden, wow. Now, there's governor races there. There's U.S. Senate race. Will they target her? Hell yeah. You know, they want to make sure you know they're targeted. Yeah. We got Israel. We got bottomless pit of money that we gave them to give back to campaigns for Republicans to support Israel. I mean, it's so bad. Good. It's so bad, it's good. Because it's educating us. It's making sure you understand what certainly libertarians and freedom activists have been dealing with for freaking decades, in my personal experience. There is a system, and it's not for you. There's a club, and you ain't in it, as George Carlin would say. So now we're starting to see what happens now. They do this Massey thing. Now, of course, I don't trust the election anyway, which is now starting to come up right away. Anomalies, you think? I mean, you know, all of a sudden, what?
Yeah, I wanted to, as we segue from your last topic to Massey, I have a good little segue here. There's a chart called Global Perception Ranking. And it's how the world looks at all the countries, right? They have an updated version. In other words, how favorable are all the countries? And this is important because you start to see like where the money goes, right? And where the support structures are. So here we go, global perception scores of all the major countries, right? And there's I think there's like 50 or 100 of them listed, 132 countries, right? Respondents were asked what their overall perception is of each of 132 countries and international organizations. So here we go. Number one, what do you think? Don't worry, we won't do 132 here, but this will make some points. The number one country, the highest perception of world people, what would you say? What's the most positive perception?
Just, we like that country. I want to go live there.
Yeah. Highest ranked countries.
I mean, it almost always was the U.S. I don't know. I have no idea. Where would anybody want to go? Out in the middle of the ocean? I have no idea.
Well, you remember Ronald Reagan said there's no better country than freedom on earth than America. If we fall, what else happens, right? So number one is, well, this was not paid for by Israel, otherwise that would be number one. But no, it's Switzerland, number one. Number two, I'll just read a few of these in order here. Highest is Switzerland. Number two is Canada. 3, Japan. Next, Sweden, Italy, Norway, Spain, Australia, Denmark, New Zealand, and you have Singapore, South Korea. We just talked about Singapore, right?
Holy shit, we're below Australia? God.
Wait. You got to wait. So what's interesting, though, is think about it. You're looking at these countries, things like the East, right? South Korea, I talked about, where all this culture is coming from. That's the epicenter of culture. It's like the Hollywood of the East is South Korea right now. Again, you just ask younger people, they'll tell you. Singapore, if you're going to be taking your money, and if you're going to be investing in a gold exchange or have someone store your gold, you want a country that you trust. Sound familiar? It used to be America everyone trusted. So if you're top on favorability, that's where the world would not mind putting their money.
Yeah. Where's the U.S.?
Yeah. So anyway, so you get there, you get the idea. Then we get all the way towards the bottom, and we have there's 68. Okay, so there's 68 top ones ranked. And number 62 is Russia. 63 is Iraq. Under Iraq, at number 64 out of 68 is the United States.
Okay, this is done by who?
This is NERA data. This is the Democracy Perception Index 2026. This isn't just some podcaster putting this together, but let me finish this up. After the United States, number 65 is Iran. After that is Afghanistan. 67 is North Korea. And dead last at 68, at the bottom of the list, is Israel, by far. And again, this is published every year. So I just found it fascinating, especially I talk about, culture and the international world and how people perceive and all this kind of thing. But it says a lot. I mean, Israel's dead last. You saw the reception that Bibi had when he was at the United Nations, and like 3/4 of them all walked out. Remember that? They all just walked out on Bibi. And they're pretty much probably going to be doing that to the United States pretty soon. So you have Israel and America and that unholy alliance, which we're definitely going to get into now with Massey and and Ernie's ultimate victory lap, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm sure he's salivating. And then which one? And then, but the fact that they're so low down there with Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. I mean, again, for everyone, like you said, who's waving around their flags going, yeah,
what's
America.
the name of this thing? I got to find. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
They're all saying, yay, America.
No, they
America.
say, what graph, what study is this? Where did you get this?
The Democracy Perception Index 2026. You can Google that up if you want. So anyway, we can break it down more later, but it's the concept of like you're saying, America is all America first, and we love America and wave your flags around. The interest for the 250th anniversary, I haven't heard anyone talk about anything. I think the love of this country has been extinguished, especially after this Massey deal, which we will chat about. But just seeing the flip of how the world perception is for America, we still see, or Americans, and the baby boomers who voted in this last Massey thing especially, You have the baby boomers, who are the last generation who really benefited from the height of where America was, right after World War II, and just it was just we're at our summit as far as a nation. Now you could argue we weren't, because we're already getting off the dollar and we're turning into a world empire versus George Washington. I know all these arguments, but from a certain perspective, we were at our zenith, and yet we went from there to now, basically with communist nations on the bottom and despised. And then the gold markets that Ernie and I were talking about earlier are the pipe is being laid away from America and these nations. So, and they're all connected. It's all connected. All right. So, therefore, what shall we talk about? So, I'll be nice to Ernie. I want to give him a layup here. I'm not going to go long on this because I do have some comments on this, and I have.
This thing seems kind of lefty, but doesn't
and an audio.
probably.
Well, they have Canada #2. I could give you that one. But I mean, it's being reported on conservative podcasts as well. I mean, so it's not like it's just from the left. So it's floating around for what it's worth. And it is subjective. But I don't doubt the concept behind it, the perception of how America is being viewed. I really don't. I mean, just look at it now. You've got Donald Trump saying we're going to take Greenland and this and that. I mean, even Europe is looking at America. They've lost their mind. The Canadians hate America. So from we're saying this can be the 51st state, whatever. But you see this disparity separating, but America still doesn't. My point is, Americans still don't get it because most Americans don't travel. They don't really understand the rest of the world. They don't see how they see it.
Chastise us all the time.
This says a lot behind it. So anyway, but getting into this Massey deal, I have definitely a lot of comments and a kind of a video that I have to play. We'll play a little bit later. But I just want to point out for Ernie that I didn't think we would talk about gold in the beginning because I was getting ready to play the Rocky theme and let Ernie sit there and do his biggest victory lap ever, right? Which he deserves. See, I'm trying to be nice to you, buddy. Ernie and I have gone back and forth on this thing called still voting, and Ernie just flips his corn every time anyone still talks about voting. And I'm sure his own family secretly votes at night. They go out at midnight
because, like
to vote.
Roger Stone, they address all the other stuff except the accuracy.
All right, yeah. So you can be unleashed in a second. I'm trying to give you props. Now, my argument with Ernie, and for a lot of us who still vote, it's not the fact that we're clueless or obtuse to how broken a system is. We might have different levels of trust or distrust of the system. That you could argue, and that's what Ernie, went on coping mechanisms back in 2016 because the whole problem is that Trump won despite everyone's throwing everything at him, and it proved that at least as broken as it is, it worked just enough with popsicle sticks and masking tape to get over the finish line.
Wait, how's that working out?
No, we'll get to that, Ernest. But the point is the system overall said no. They threw everything at an anti-establishment candidate, and still, with the overwhelming of the people rising up, it was able to break the system and expose the system for what it was. Right?
Was he anti-establishment?
Wait. Is the fact that the system was saying you can't vote here, and most people thought the media didn't lie to them. Remember how long ago 2016 was? Maybe not for this audience, but for a lot of our relatives and family and friends, they really thought CNN and Fox News told them the truth. The podcast movement was just starting to explode. The people were still in their bubbles that the doctor didn't lie to them, and the voting system was completely up and up. And I mean, all of these things. Epstein was a conspiracy theory, right? You got to remember 2016. That's where the world was. And so anyway, it's like this. That was the moment when many Americans got red-pilled and saw what was behind the mirror, that the media was maybe not on their side, and they worked for someone else. And the fact that when the media colluded to take this guy out, Donald Trump, it red-pilled more and more people. I'm saying this, we all remember this, but it's exactly what just happened now with Massey at a whole nother level. but whereas 2016, it woke up about the media and how there's another infrastructure, now we can see what's behind that infrastructure with this issue of Massey, with Israel and such. But the voting system, I've said, I know it's broken, I know it's got issues, but I didn't think, and this is my opinion, Ernie's different, he's screaming at me like, why are you still wasting your time? I often said, I will ride this horse until the last hoof falls off, but also because a vote is also a culture vote. It's not just, here, you pull the lever, you go back to sleep, and these politicians are going to go in and make my life better. No, at the same time, there was more behind it that was also showing where the people are, even if it's not enacted. And that's where I still hold the line on. Still think it happened because people voted for Trump. They voted for certain policies. And then you're not getting that. You're seeing what's happening with Massey. People are, vote. They all support Massey. You see that another country throws 32 million total, but the Israeli funds were something like 22 million. To be fair, still, it doesn't matter. I mean, it was bought off by another country. We all know that. And so now people are being exposed to what's behind the mirror on this. And the ultimate sense that you're hearing from people who are not members of Freedom's Phoenix or is not black-pilled, as this audience has been, is I'm seeing all at once, and I'm sure you have too, Ernie, and thank God you haven't been salivating too much over it, but is that you're seeing this unification, crestfallen, people just sitting back going, wow, so my vote really does not matter. And should I vote? And I'm not voting again, or wait a minute, voting is not the solution. I'm hearing this, what sounds like Ernie Hancock's, infected half of the YouTube podcast sphere, at least the ones I listen to, who don't act like the libertarian movement. These are more just regular conservatives, MAGA people who are now sounding like they're listening to Freedom's Phoenix. And this is the moment. There's a lot packed into this. I'm sure Ernie has a lot to talk about as well, but I wanted to just say that this is, in a way, what I've been, I don't say waiting for, but there would be a moment where the 100th monkey, remember I've kind of argued with you about this, is that if it's just half a percent of libertarians going, still voting, and we're out of the system, and you guys are a bunch of suckers, you're not going to see the movement with it. You needed people like Ross Perot, and then Ron Paul moved the ball even further a couple times. And then you've got Donald Trump, who did move the ball. He broke open and exposed a lot of this, which is why I supported him at the time. And now what's happened now with Massey is now the next level up where now normies can see, just like with Dr. Fauci. This is like the Dr. Fauci moment. It's kind of a moment also, which I think you cannot put this genie back in. It's one of those things where it's like once you see the COVID deal and you have other Americans who are now saying that you need to take this experimental drug and put it in you and your kids, and it's a line that you just cannot cross, and you see your family and certain family and friend members cross that line and you think they've been infected by zombies, and you don't know, your world gets turned upside down. That is what is happening to so many people right now with this Massey deal. Because this thing with Israel, something that with Israel, it was hush-hush, no one could talk about it. If you brought up the word Israel, the I word on KFYI or some of the local talk stations, you'd be shut down in 2 seconds and the call would be dropped. That's the world that most of us remember, and now it's like a full-on display. You've got the Israeli AIPAC celebrating the minute the race was called with Massey. AIPAC throws on their website, we did it! It's like, oh, anti-Semites gone, and we won, and look, my God. It's like, I don't remember the Swahili embassy or the Swahili lobby sitting there, advertising that Thomas Massey from the 4th District in Kentucky lost. I mean, are you kidding me? And one last point, and I'll throw it to you, is there was a guy I was arguing with online, which it doesn't matter, some guy was wasting my time with, but we're commenting on one of my comments about with Massey, and he goes, no, it had nothing to do with Israel or this or that. He goes, Thomas Massey just lost because he was an ineffectual congressman. And I said, ineffectual. I said, if he's so ineffectual, why was $32 million dumped on this little tiny district, the 4th District of Kentucky, and Donald Trump use up what's left of his political capital being able to dump everything onto this congressional race. You've got what's his name, Pete Hegseth. You know, you've got the Department of War. He's like bombing nations, and then he goes to Kentucky to make
not
sure
election
that this
day.
guy
They didn't.
loses.
They put it off one day so he could go to campaign against him.
It's just like, yeah, right. So Thomas Massey's ineffectual, but you've got to dump the mother of God avalanche on this race because he's so ineffectual for one guy. And also with Thomas Massey, keep in mind, even if he quote won, and I'm sure Ernie would be even more pissed if he did win, because but I'm sorry, I know you're happy, and I'm glad. I mean, this moment needed to happen for everyone to see what Ernie's been saying for a long time. But it's like, even if he, quote, won, like I told my better half, who was very upset about it. I'm sure your better half was as well.
Win what?
Win. Yeah, exactly. No, I already know where you're going. But like I was saying, even if he, quote, air quotes, I'm doing air quotes so you can't see it, and he won, it still wouldn't change anything, right? Because he's one vote. He's like the one man trying to hold back a tidal wave. It was more the principle of what he represented. It wasn't the fact he could change anything. And of course, the Democrats, the Democrats will just be against anything now. And the minute they get in next time, they're going to be pushing for the Israeli wars. They're no different. They're not going to release the Epstein files. They're the same goddamn thing. So he was more of a representation of what's left and what was best of America and of American politics, which I know might make you puke by me saying that, but it is. And he was kind of almost the modern representation, and I don't want to overgrandize the guy, but like Abraham Lincoln. I mean, he's from the same state, Kentucky. He built his own house, just like, log cabin, like Abe. And he has such a folksy manner, and yet he's to the point, he's brilliant. And he just
got like 30 patents. I mean, the guy is not an idiot.
Oh, I know. The guy's amazing. But he represents, I would just say, the best of us. The best of us. And the fact that someone who really represents the best of us and what we want our children to be like, and someone that we can look up to for as much as we can for a politician, the fact that that's the person that the entire system, the entire establishment decided to go after, and for what? Because he's trying to expose child predators, right? I mean, it comes down to Epstein and Israel, of course, but that's the cross that these people are going to have to bear, and I'm wondering how they're going to do it. Now, forgive me because I come from a Catholic background. I come from a Catholic background myself, but it's interesting how the Catholic Church, and I say this respectfully, I know I'm not trying to tarnish them about it, but when I talk to Christian friends or many people, the minute you mention anything about the Catholic Church, there's always the little comment, oh, yeah, child molesters, and they protect child molesters. And that's been a stigma that they earned, right, and went all the way up to the Vatican, but it's a stigma to this day that has this dark cloud over the Catholic Church because they didn't expose it as they should, and they played games with it, and that's a type of rep damage that'll take generations to go through. And the irony is that many of these people who lambast the Catholic Church over this are Christians, and many of these Christians are the same ones that are supporting Israel about this, and they're supporting Trump's movement. I'm not saying all Christians, obviously, but the ones that are just taking the sword for Israel, and a lot of them are from these mega churches, which we'll get into that later about where the funding's coming from a lot of these. The main mega churches from Texas and California, which both happen to have the most electoral votes, But that is another thing that's going to happen with the Republican Party, the whole MAGA movement, and I think this whole thing of Israel is going to be completely, especially with the Christians backing Trump and this whole Massey defeat, is going to be, you did this to protect child molesters. I mean, there's a lot more going on. I get this, but at just a guttural core, this is what it came down to. It's not about the big, beautiful bill that Massey supposedly he didn't support for his own reasons. They're making that the excuse. That's not true. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she voted for the BBB, and yet she was first targeted out. This is always about Israel or the support about the Epstein files. So this is, it's coming down in some ways just to a guttural thing about child molestation or the extortion ring, and the fact that our government And the system has allowed that to occur for decades and probably even longer than that. And that's coming down to the core. So I think this is going to be an albatross that they're not going to be able to shake. I don't know how they're going to shake this whole PDF thing going forward, but it is ultimately exposing to normies, to I think getting to that 100th monkey moment that your vote doesn't matter, and the whole avalanche of sayings and slogans that Ernie can go all day on. So let me throw it to you. I'm sure you have a lot to say about the Massey race, and then I have a couple videos, a couple things I want to play, which I think is very important for context of who we're dealing with. But go ahead, Ernie. Take your victory lap. Still voting?
Whoa, it was my turn?
Okay. I can't give you a better setup than that. Oh, my God, you're going to ruin it. Go.
Go what? I mean, you said it's,
What? Well, I guess honestly, I just said it all for Ernie. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I just did your job for you.
This is the whole thing comes down to, I feel like I'm repeating myself so much. Voting is a mechanism by which individual human beings get to register their opinion on the available options. It was called the Australian ballot. And I'll give you a little bit of history, and you'll see my perspective. In 1994, when we were, really hit the ground, and there we said, all right, I became county chair in Maricopa County, and then I'm going, you guys have been doing it wrong. I mean, we got to go whip some ass. And it was the Massey thing. It was exactly this. It ties in with Massey. There was a candidate for governor in the 1990 race that was running against, it was right after the Meekum stuff. There was a lot of controversy here. It was like a Trump character that, everybody, the media loved to hate kind of thing. Well, then there was, the business guy, the developer guy, Fife Symington. He had a bunch of big developments. He's kind of the Trump guy. You need a businessman with all the businessmans behind him we're going to do some business. Well, that kind of, ran its course. Well, during that time, it was this guy named Phranq that was a county supervisor. But he was they, them, those. He was McCain machine. It was, that kind of crap. Well, a good friend of mine asked me he was an attorney and a city councilman in Glendale, and he goes, you need to speak with Fred. I know Fred done fundraisers with Fred. Fred's a good guy. You need to go tell him, what you're coming across and all. It was economic stuff going to watch. I was getting some news coverage, just, this kid, 28-year-old kid out there being, ordered, because I'm doing, why this, why that, you promised this law says you're a bunch of freaking liars, and I was being a dick about it. Well, that was how I came across a lot of the libertarians. They asked me to speak at one of their state conventions for the 92 presidential cycle. And then I go, hey, man, these guys got it going on. They understand. Yeah, we understand that you don't understand. Didn't you get the memo? I mean, hell, this is how America works, man. It's all about the money. And so I started, so this Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, judicial, that's all bullshit? Wow, where have you been, boy? So I'm going, okay, so where is it that you have an impact? Where is it that the people get to have a say? There was the voter registration. You had to for you to register to vote, it had to be by a selected, trained, certified, what do they call them, voter registrar, okay? A voter registrar had to be certified by the Democrat or the Republican Party, and only they could register you. And you go, wow, I wonder why there's not a lot of independents or third parties. What do you think about that? Then you find out in the general election, almost a third of the people that actually voted in the general election were not Republican or Democrat. That shocked me. With all of this, going on, I tell you a tangent here, and you'll understand why that's important. There is oftentimes to where you'll have with all the disincentives or the incentives that things just don't show the way that you think it would. I'll give you an example. Trump comes into office. I love me some crypto. I pardon Ross Ulbricht. It's going to be, part of the portfolio of the U.S. Strategic Reserve of, Bitcoin, and we're Bitcoin and cryptoed up, and my sons do. It's at its maximum influence. You cannot get more positive press, more support by government, by financial institutions, Wall Street, and then it goes down by half almost. Why? You had all this wind in your sails, and this was the best that you could do. Same thing. That's why you go, man, there's some shit going on behind this. That's why when they had the Nonconformist series, Surviving the Apocalypse, that I just emceed for an Acapulco that aired the 16th, 15, 16, 17, whatever, a couple days this last week, there wasn't, as much as they are all cryptoed up and super crypto, not a single presentation of the over dozen was about crypto. Didn't even get mentioned. And I'm going, wow. Go back to precious metals. Why? Because it's what I keep saying. It got GoldmanSucks.gov coined. I mean, it's just part of the control grid now. So can you use private crypto? Yeah, probably. But it's not going to be in the mindset. It's all about privacy, security, cheapness, availability, speed, graphic user interfaces on your phone, all the stuff that should matter, all the fundamentals. Not the press, not the hype, not Michael Saylor going, sell your children, get more crypto, get more Bitcoin because of Bitcoin, okay, which he was doing, by the way. So I'm going, it was maximum effort, maximum support for the two-party system. Since Watergate, when corporations used to sponsor, might as well have been NASCAR. I mean, we're sponsoring this and having we got, the convention in whatever cities compete kind of like, for the Olympics and, blah, 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 blah. But it was private. And then it went, we got to get rid of them communists. We got to have a two-party system. Not, we're bipartisan. Well, that's limits to two. That's not nonpartisan, where we got, we got standing for lawsuits here in Arizona going after the League of Women's Voters because they were a bipartisan organization which violated their nonprofit, status of what I go, no, this is not about support. It's about being open to all, not just the Republican-Democrat thing. Then you have the Committee on Presidential Debates and so on. Well, it's Republican-Democrat. There's not a start. So all of this stuff, it was obvious to me that with every single advantage in law, in the press, in the court system, they still in Arizona had a third of the people that voted in the general election refused to be part of their bullshit. Well, what's it now? It's more than the parties. So I'm just going, this is so, just like with Bitcoin, they had the maximum effort, the maximum press, the maximum of anybody and money and kind of flood in, and we're giving you some, go be president, do God what. And this is the best they can get. It doesn't go any higher than this. What are they going to do, get double president support? Double congressional, I guess they can. I mean, they throw it. What they did, and then they got, what's his face, Lansky, whatever, Epstein's neighbor buddy in the cabinet with Trump, and Lewinsky, whatever the hell his name is. So I'm proud of myself, I don't remember. So what happened is his firm that he came from are the ones that is managing the crypto that is being used and the stable coins and so on that are being allowed, but they have to have their reserves in U.S. treasuries. That's how they're trying to bail themselves out. Then you have the financial guy from Russia come out and he goes, look, they're just going to wipe out and tokenize and redistribute and dilute whatever debt, and it's not going to matter. That's all matter. Well, they're going to do that. Because what choice do they have? I have no idea. Let it go in free market, but that's not on their agenda. So in competition with what is inevitable, what's happening, what they're going to do, here comes all this other stuff. Hong Kong, Singapore kind of crap. Iran does their own oil bores. They start taking gold for whatever. Other countries like Gaddafi or Hussein or whatever that threaten to do it, and you're invaded, you're dead. This is not going unnoticed. Then when you have other people that do invest for liquidity and be able to do trade and sell their oil like Russia and all this kind of stuff, and then they go, oh, we seized that. That's not yours anymore. You can't play. Fuck you. We'll do our own, which is what they're doing. So when you look at the voting, you look at the crypto, you look at the opinion of where to do business, where you feel safer with your money, where you can't count on reliability. Like one of my computers, the Wi-Fi won't turn. I'm going, Paul Puey from Edge Wallet, but good friends. We were talking here recently, and he's going, Ernie, man, bite the bullet and get an Apple. You get this one computer here. It works. It always has the capacity. It's always, whatever you think. I'm telling you, I've done Linux. The game window. Just get this Apple product and make the switch and get over it. I'm the only one in my family that doesn't have an iPhone. I'm like, yeah, but I'm Well, I'm starting to get. I need reliability. I need it to effing work. I need it to maintain, to get it certified, whatever. And it's always geekified on which I like the show is on Linux, and it's much more stable. It's not always updating the stuff and everything until the last month or two. Then we start having stories that are starting to attack Linux. They, them, those. Here it comes. Damn it. They're out there being free and stuff. Well, I'm like, is it open source, or you got a walled garden with Apple or whatever? I think I need to have a third operating system because I already got Linux and Windows and use Linux mostly. And I go, one of the three is freaking working. Same thing that's going on with the BRICS nation. Same exact thing. They come up against hurdles. They come up against opposition. They come up against obstacles. They come up against, and they go, this doesn't work, I go over here. Well, that's not politically incorrect, and you're not doing it right, and Trump doesn't like it. I don't give a shit. I want to go where? Ones and zeros to whatever. Now, then when you get the voting thing, it was supposed to be a manifestation of the will of the people. Do you think they give a shit what your will is? All they care about is what you can do. What can you do? Wallet voting. It's where you spend your money. It's where you spend your time. It's the mechanism by which you do it. Do you finally go, I want to get out from under all this debt? Are you willing to sell your home now? Which you better do it now because here it goes. It's crashing. You sell your home now and you're just able to pay off all your bills, not have any credit debt, and you live in a tiny shoebox in the middle of the road with 126 of your relatives. I mean, would you trade off for that? Right now, the debt, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars per household, $100,000 per person, baby, everything that they have in their own debt. Then I didn't even count, the debt of the freaking, country, whatever obligation you got. I keep seeing different numbers all over the place. It was when we first started Freedom's Phoenix back in 2005, we shot up very quickly. We were in the top percentages of traffic. And then we hit the Levolution, and certainly by 2009, we saw the manipulation of it. They saw that, we'd have on our own servers, they would go and look at or, segue into a YouTube video by 4409 or something. It'd be in a day, it'd be 4,000, they would report 400. And I'm going, they're so full of crap. And then you have all these stat counters and everything, and it wasn't anything close to what our own web server data was showing. So they're lying. So I didn't give a crap what they said. But The problem that we had is because we have such a complex and hundreds and hundreds, 600,000, 700,000 headlines now on our, it would just tax the servers too much to do reports on it. Until recently, or Derek's starting to work on speeding up things and doing streamline and have a little AI. He goes, Ernie, it would have taken me 2 floors of a high-rise full of programmers to do this. I just couldn't, I didn't have time. We were just making it, streamline it, screw it. We're not reporting, looking at over here, make it go whir for our subscribers. That was the focus. Make it go whir for our subscribers. All the other bots, just turn them all off, don't care. Don't want, outside America, don't care. Streamline it for our subscribers. That was the goal. Because they could see what was going on. If they can't, get you to join them, they'll just, squeeze you out, with traffic throttles and all kinds of other crap. But we had our own servers and everything. Then I see whenever I get a spike in traffic, all of a sudden, boom, they'll go 2, 5, 10 times what. And then it'll have a new level. It'll be up there, and then about a week or two later, bam, it'd take a hit constantly. So I just stopped looking. I don't care anymore. I said, it's not accurate. I don't care. Taxes our servers to do it. It doesn't matter. Metrics, don't care. In the past couple of weeks, our traffic has shot to the moon. Okay, why? Well, we streamlined some stuff. We made it more efficient. We opened up, SEO, search engine optimization to whatever. All of a sudden, this morning, I'm 500,000 hits. Is that real? How the hell do we know? So they're working on, some inside, reports that we can do that won't tax the servers, just to kind of get a snapshot. But I don't freaking care. That's not the point. Everybody is about the metrics. Everybody is about the numbers and what they cover and what they show interest in and what they put on the top of the page and what's the top 4 stories and what is all about the numbers instead of understanding what the fuck is going on. And I'm telling you, I don't care. I don't look. It doesn't matter. Why? Because principle does. Here comes Massey. He's in these Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is why we came in. This was the promise. This is what we're doing here. Last week, they came up with the Thomas Massey Revolution documentary that used the Ron Paul Revolution. Huh. This is, been a thing, got to, donate and do, same kind of crap. But Ron Paul endorses them. Ron Paul, the Revolution continues. It's going Thomas Massey. They want the bus to go out. They want me, whatever. Man, you don't need me. This is a decentralized thing. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Never did. But it sure as shit is an understanding of why. The guy that did the documentary is a young guy. He goes, I was coming out of high school when the Ron Paul Revolution was going, and I kind of, didn't get involved, even though I was in political science and what I just didn't see it, didn't get, approval of whatever. So he was and then he missed it. And he goes, man, if that ever happens again, I'm not missing this one. So he joins up with the Massey campaign. He creates this documentary. He puts it in. They got picture of me in their, nano moment of something with Ron Paul. But and I'm going, cool. This is a continuation of. That is the win. When and how is you got Marjorie Taylor Greene going to speak at Ron Paul's thing a few weeks ago. She comes out and we're going once more into the breach of we're going to whatever and Thomas Massey. But you don't, no matter what search you do or AI, inquiry or anything, where's the link between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey? Well, you're going to feel it. Whether it's direct or not, here it comes. Now, I just had G. Edward Griffin on within the last couple of weeks. Beginning of last week, I think, or something. And I promised him over the years, we've done a lot of shows, gone to his red pill thing and all that kind of stuff. And he's always had this thing called Freedom Force. Freedom Force, is just a bunch of really interested, concerned Merkins that want to, fix America, whatever. They got the nostalgic view of voting matters kind of thing. Well, I always told him, I go, You do a red pill, which they did. One of their first ones was here, and we helped with that. And I go, you come to Arizona, you do the red pill thing, do it. I'll help you. I'll made you look. I'm a made you look guy, but I go, and I will help. I don't want to be on the board of anything. I don't want to be directly associated or listed in nothing or whatever. I made you look. I'll be, foot soldier or whip ass and make sure people see what you're doing and you get attention. And voting. Because they want a bunch of candidates and so on. I have no interest. I don't want to be committed to, Donald will shoot me. But I go, I can help. Got a lot of contacts still. Know what's up. Understand the laws here. Everything's different in every state. But they want to do once more into the breach to people matter and voting kind of thing. So that was the morning I had the show with Chris Horlocker. He came up with, it was Quibit or Equibit. Yeah, Equibit, which was a mechanism using blockchain that could replace Canada's stock market, kind of a T0 that Patrick Byrne was doing, where you tokenize, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course, it streamlined it, and it cut out billions of dollars in, the bleed, like Patrick Byrne called it, a pig's breakfast. It was just like all this, requirement and government and regulation, and all it did was just a bleed off into these guys get to make money without having to worry about whether the stock went up or down. They were just bookies. And you had a bookie of bookies qualification of the bookie had to go through the bookie crap, and it just bled the system. So he came up with that. Oh, they went after him. Well, he's crypto rich. He's in Mexico now, living on with a young family of Bite Me, but he is still going after $120 million or $1 billion thing in the court system of Canada, whatever. Yeah, we won. They reneged on this. They didn't file that. They come all of a sudden there, and then the judges go, doesn't matter. We don't care what the law says, and we just continue whatever. They're just trying to bleed them. So I have him. Then he starts talking about the Federal Reserve and how the international banking does, and here's G. Edward Griffin's book, Creature Jekyll. I go, well, he's going to be on in a couple hours. So G. Edward comes on. All right, well, what's the cure? I mean, you're influential. People are recognizing, starting to see what's up. You were right, yada, yada, yada. Now what? Freedom Force, got to go. We got once more into the breach, and then once more, and as always, once more. So I'm all right. I promised you come. We'll go whip ass. I'll give you some whip ass. But win what? Is it vote totals? I don't give a shit. I've run for office a bunch of times. Doesn't mean I vote. So then, of course, they ask you about it, and I go, thank you for the question. All the other media guys, oh, no, you never ask Ernie that question. So then I have James Corbett on. I had 3 shows that day. I did 5, 6 shows 2 days last week. So then I have our every other week show with Corbett. All right. James, are you going to take away my anarchist card now again? Oh, no, your anarchist card's in threat there, Ernie. You're talking about voting. And I said, out of respect for G. Edward Griffin and his philosophy that government is a protectorate of your right, which is what was promised in the Declaration of Independence I keep going on about. He goes, we are going to focus on that. You have to fix the election process. They talk about it, they don't do it. Here you have, I don't know, Thule or whatever his name is, the head of the Senate, and he's the one that's Republican, holding up the Save America Act or voting accuracy of whatever Trump thing. Well, is it all a pretend battle, or is it a real battle? Massey comes in, it's already, Megyn Kelly's out there. A little anomalies, 100,000 votes kind of show up at the end to put over the guy. Of course there is. Can they? Can they? Well, then guess what? They are.
Ernie, when it comes to the voting thing, I'm not, the last thing I want to do is trigger you here. I'm not in any way doubting that there's hanky-panky and very well, 3 weeks, maybe we'll find out more about these mail-in ballots and all of this stuff. Let's just put that aside. Let's just...
Why? See, that's what everybody does. That's what G. Edward does. That's what the parties do. That's what the special interests do. They put it aside.
No, wait.
Why?
because I'm trying to make a point here.
Yeah,
just,
that you're putting it aside.
Man, audience, if any of you want to take my spot and talk voting with Ernest, be my guest. Like, seriously.
Yeah, guest.
No, really. It's like a drinking problem here. All right, so here, look, let's just put that aside for a moment, right?
God.
As far as let's just pretend.
We've been putting it aside.
Wait, Ernie, take a stiff drink right now, a big sip, all right? So let's just pretend that the voting was up and up. All right, that every this is a tough one. This is a tough one for you. Let's just pretend. All right, one man, one vote. It was legit. This is why this massive thing's so important. Is because even if people have not wrapped their head around how the voting irregularities occur, right? You know, Roger Stone figured that out, perhaps. Let's just say, even if you haven't wrapped your head around, you haven't gotten to that place yet. Okay, that's why I'm always looking at other people's perceptions of these things. What has happened, though, was even if every person voted properly, the vote was bought with the deluge of money that came from an outside nation through a lobbying group that is basically lobbying.
I don't think that's true.
Well, all right. Well, I'm curious.
Okay, let me make this one point. Let me make this one point. You interrupted me. This is the point. When they spend all this money, they give you the illusion that is why he lost. He lost before it even started. They already knew what they were going to do. But they needed to give you the mindset, the opinion that it was the money that did it. I don't believe it.
All right, well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, does it matter ultimately, because it's rigged one way or the other? So yes, I hear your point that the money was just a distraction, so they can blame it on the money and not get to the underlying. Oh yeah, it's already been rigged all along. I you know what? Fair point. But it doesn't matter from the perception. It's like a magic trick. You know, I do little illusions, you know, for my little hobby. It's like, okay, it's what your perception is what the trick is, but behind the scenes there's something else going on. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Perception is reality to people. And at the end of the day, people who still don't know how perhaps broken it is, they now have seen that that the country is compromised in the sense that their vote doesn't matter. However you get there, their vote doesn't matter. So when it says still voting, when a sign says it's, I know. Oh God, you got me saying it now. So when a sign that a certain billboard around in Phoenix, Arizona says still voting, you know, people now can look at it from their own perception, their own history of how they perceive that question. Whether it's, you know, Apex, they bought it off in some little district in Kentucky, like Tel Aviv cares about the 4th district in Kentucky. So this is such, and I'm glad it was Kentucky. I mean, this was meant to happen, and you couldn't design a better.
And who's from Kentucky? Point. Mitch Connell. You think there's not a machine like the McCain machine here?
Well, I'm not. I get that, but a perception for regular Americans to finally see what, like my own mother, when she finally realized. I'll remember the day when she came to me and she said, "My gosh, Phranq, it hit her. She got red pilled." I saw it happen in front of her, that the media is biased. And they actually don't, you know, they're not just doing regular gumshoe reporting. I mean, I know it seems so old-fashioned by today's standard, but to see that transition is what matters. That's how we get to the change, the reset, whatever this country needs to go through. You can't do it with a bunch of kind of stubborn libertarians that are 0.5%. You know, not moving the needle, which I'm not blaming us. It's just you have to get enough normies to see it. You need to get enough normies to finally wake up that the system's broken in certain ways. And we've been chronicling it on the Trumpenstein report for 10 years now? And so, and the argument you and I go back and forth so often to summarize is you're like, skip to the end. I already know this. Why are we wasting our time? I'm just using Phranq as a punching bag stand-in for half the audience. Still voting. How come you guys haven't figured it out yet? Right? That's been his mantra. To me, you know, I use it in a separate sense, which is it's an evolution that we are going to get there. Kind of like the gold exchanges over in Singapore and all. It doesn't happen like you say. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, and then all of a sudden it happens quickly. And this is a process, and we can get all frustrated about how the world is. But to me, it's a cultural change about how people perceive their environment, how the politics works, medicine, the understanding that there is. Basically understanding what George Carlin said all those years ago. There's a club out there and you ain't in it, right? And yeah, it's a joke and everyone's heard this, but to actually be gut punched or kicked to the groin and feel what you people felt last night or the other day, it makes it real. And now you're sitting back going, all right, so voting is not a way out of this. So then where do we go? And that question has a bunch of answers to it, but it doesn't matter what the solutions are right now. I'm just saying we're at a flashpoint where the normies now, critical mass, are now waking up to this. And you're seeing across the aisle. I mean, the moderates, moderate Democrats, the independents, the libertarians, ex-MAGA. I mean, just like you and I have been watching, you're seeing this consolidation of something new. The left and right paradigm is getting blown apart. And something new is congealing, something that I know they, them, those are not going to like, but that's kind of what's happening. Anyway, you want to go a quick comment on that? And then I definitely want to play this video that is very telling. I can't wait to play it. All right.
My only, the reason I gave you that perspective on crypto getting the most wind in their sails and it still goes down. We have the two-party system got the most wind in its sails, and you still have a third of the people not registered in either party. Or you look at the actual registration of the people actually voting in the general election, and you see what the breakdown is there. They want you to think it's like, it's 50.1%, 49.9% Democrat, Republican, which is bullshit. This is why, when I say it won't happen all at once, but it will happen overnight. Overnight is coming. And when you have things in place like Hong Kong, trade, the communists trading with the capitalist Singapore and the gold based of bite me US dollar, you have them, coming up with all these Anduril, whatever you call it, Lucky Palmer, the guy that sold the Oculus Rift for a couple $1 billion to Meta, which might have been like a deal. There's all kinds, man. You don't know what's going on. And then what does he do? He starts up a mercenary robot program. You want to hire some mercs? I got some mercs, and they obey orders. They do exactly what you want. You want the Iron Man, Super Air Force autonomous robot go whip ass guys? Boom. Watch Iron Man 2 or 3 or whichever one it was with Mickey Rourke. That's what that was all about. This is Lucky Palmer. And what are they doing? They don't need to call Blackwater to go be mercs to go do whatever. They just need to order out of the silo of autonomous fighter jets and drones and this and that and undersea of whatever. They got a full plethora of options. There was it's kind of a puppet thing called the Thunderbirds back in the 60s, 70s. And they had it was like the Precariat or pirate ship. They had all these different ships. They had one of the brothers was on the space station monitoring everything. Then they had, the fighter this, they had the undersea that, and they had this one transport ship. And it had different modules that would be in the middle of it. Well, we need to, this module, and that module, and the module of the modules of whichever module. That's what Anduril is. Or Anduril, whatever. So, which was, Palantir, which is Peter Thiel's thing. Palantir was the all-seeing crystal ball of future which is Palantir data collection. Anduril, I think, was the name of the sword that, the king, finally, Return of the King, and the sword, you got to have the sword that was fashioned by, the elves of the sword. Well, that's what this is. This is what's coming. It's like a bad sci-fi movie. It's Terminator. It's Skynet. Here we go. And it doesn't happen all at once. You see it. You see the legislation. You see the corporations. You see the subsidies. You see the debt to be able to pay for the subsidies to these companies and so on. Then it's COVID, and all of a sudden $20-something trillion just goes away. What the hell? Where did the guy at? And nothing to see here. It all comes down to a pivotal time, place, point of they, them, those manifesting their control. And you're going to comply out of convenience. You're going to say, take a little mark of the beast. Can I make it small? Can I make it where you can't see it? Can you put it underneath my hand, forehead, whatever? So is this a religious, spiritual thing? Maybe it's just a freaking observation of sociopathic scumbag pieces of crap, and we've gone through the crash of civilization multiple times for all we know. This planet's been here for gazillions of years. They think this is the apex, this is it. Hell, we might be third time.
So Ernie, Ernie, I know this is to say, could there be a solution to voting? So just hold the corn for a second. What do you think about with blockchain? Would blockchain, from what you know, the hash rate, but also how granted that's Bitcoin rather than for voting, but I know also the government can hack that most likely. But I'm curious, from your understanding, would blockchain be something that would give you confidence in voting, if at all?
Is a computer involved?
I'm just asking.
That was one of the things that was attacked the most. That was what's her name? Christina Tobin. It was free and equal. She's all big on that. It's always about getting multiple parties in debates, and they even have third-party debates, and they do in debates. Well, she was at last August, Ron Paul's birthday party in Lake Jackson, Texas, near Corpus Christi, and she was there, and we stayed at the same Airbnb, and it was a bunch of us there, and it was like 3 stories or something, and so we had long conversations with a bunch of the activists and Ron Paul kind of thing. There has been, was it Colin Cantrell? I think it is. Colin was a crypto called Nexus, and he developed a voting mechanism that she used for her to demonstrate that you can do it. I've seen other ones. I've had other ones on the show. I've done, we can do the voting, and you could have ranked choice voting, and it would be awesome, and this and that, and computers. And I'm like, what happened to paper, man? That's counted right there under witnesses, and everybody's got their purple fingers. I mean, they could do it accurate if they want to. Here comes India. India's the largest democracy on the planet. They know faux show that night, and they do it all by paper. Well, now it's all computer. They go, no, we got to have computers. Why? Because we got to be in control of the biggest democracy. What are you, stupid? So, can you do computers? I've gone through the process. You go to that logic and accuracy test. You go there, but I can see holes everywhere, and it's always people. It's always somebody putting in. Then they had the T1 lines go into the counting computers as they were counting it. I got my counterparts, the Republican Democratic Party, to sign a letter with me to have them sever that line during the accounting process in the 94 election, and both of them were fired. They explain it to you. And I'm going, there is nothing you can do that collectively gathers the manifestation of the will of the people, that there's not somebody somewhere that consolidation of sociopath power to take control of. That's the point. If you could have an accurate representation of people, how would you measure it? Where they spend their money? What soft drinks they buy? What, antibiotic they prefer? What. Then you get into where that's manipulated. You have all of this, every vector of everything from birth and Teletubbies telling you, check your gender or something. I mean, it's all about general public opinion and how to influence it. And you have Bill Gates and all them. Here come the ticks. It's tick, tick, tick. We gotta make you to where you're violently allergic to red meat. Well, where the hell did that come from? Who invented that one? Where is it? Because they can. It is all about collection of power, the collective ability to control through whatever incentives, and usually it's convenience, so that it works. I can do commerce. I can go get. I can buy. I can have. So then, the only alternative is go all Amish on their ass. Just do it yourself. Anything that you can do yourself, do it yourself. The more you can do yourself, you got yourself to blame, which a lot of times people don't want that responsibility. That's what they play on. So no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what it is, the mechanism for government of being ruled and delegate authority, somebody else tell me what to do, that is the problem. And until we take everything local, until it's where it's under our control, until, the aggregation of the will of the people is in commerce, where we spend our money, how we do it, what is money. So it is an education. We don't got to go all Amish. I don't think Amish give a crap about technology as much as they care about control, about it's not in somebody else's. It's them and God. The only choice, they don't even have votes. They do lots. They put a piece of paper in a Bible and all the men pick it up. Whoever got it, if you're 19 and a half and God chose you to lead the parish, you win. Boom, done. This is democracy crap. They don't have campaigns. Let God deal with it. And they raise up men to all of them be capable. And if they aren't, they get help. It's a God thing. So there's so much wisdom in a lot of this stuff just out of experience. So when we talk about, and we'll get into your videos and everything here directly, but I'm just, every one of these things is to change your mind. To what? To what system, what technology, what group of people, what party, what something is going to make decisions for you. They make it out of convenience. Buy this vehicle, buy this car. I'd love to have an electric car. I got excess electricity out here. I can keep car charged and never have to whatever. We're buying like 300. We got tomorrow coming out. I got a big 40-foot pole I need to put the windmill on. They're bringing that. I got, got like 3,000 linear feet of 6-foot high anti-cow fence that's coming. All right, we got that. We got 300 gallons of diesel, coming at $4 a gallon. Woohoo! But it's red diesel, so it's, for the tractors and everything. If it snuck in Donna's truck, find it, but she doesn't want it because it's red. And it's the same thing. No, don't care. It's my truck diesel. I put what I want. All right, fine, whatever. You pay $6. But, so we get that. These are the things that we do in order to manifest our will on our land and start to do this food thing. So all of this, no matter what Phranq says, no matter what we talk about, no matter what election, no matter how it's manifested and what systems compete with the other system to give more options, that's what freedom is, options to choose. But then the matrix thing, you find out the illusion of choice. We are constantly bombarded with the illusion of choice. You may choose from communist candidate A or fascist candidate B. You do not understand. You're not in control of your life. The incentives that are presented with you limits your choices of what you can do and what has been made available to choose from. I give one example, and then we'll get to Phranq's videos, whatever. In my search for different building methods, different materials. Like, man, it'd be nice if I could just do this. It'd be nice if I could. So I start asking questions going about the water system, the interior walls and ceilings of the dome, to what we're putting on the outside. When we're burying the root cellar sphere and how, and I don't want to be too heavy on the top, and what kind of, aircrete, lavacrete, little count for the top of the insulation value. And I look. Sure as crap. There it is. In Belarus, in Russia, that they do in Siberia with this one product. And then I see this one thing, they're mimicking that that the guy in Belarus came up with this pink insulation board you can get, I don't know, 1 inch, 2 inches thick, and he puts a mastic, it's kind of like a tile adhesive over it, just trowels it with the, the slot thing, kind of, grids it up there. Then he puts a fiberglass sheet on it, then he covers it with that, lets it cure, turns it over, does the other side. You got insulated building that is the interior and exterior of barns and buildings that they're doing that insulated as hell and last forever. And when you do it in shape form, I'm going to see if I can do this in shape and kind of gore triangle of in the inside ceiling of the domes. Put that up, have it on a jig curved, it just pops right in there. You put them together, you pour your lavacrete, aircrete, concrete, whatever on the outside of the geodesic dome, that's on the inside. You got a nice hard shell. It's insulated. Boom, let's do that. Owens Corning comes up with exactly that. I have to order this stuff from China, through Alibaba to get, if I want to get those panels, or I can just make them myself like this Belarus guy did, which is probably what we're doing. So I go to a supplier, whatever, it's a long story. So then I'm going, okay, let's do that. Let's try that. Let's give it a shot. Well, it starts to become a market thing. Owens Corning comes up with this kind of product. Exactly that. It manufactured, got that, and then, boom, it went away. You can't get it in the U.S. Why? Building codes. They, them, those. You're not allowed. Well, it's a DIY. They can just do on their, what do you care? You go, nope, can't be a thing. You start tracking this stuff back. It's all special interest. It's all what you can and can't do, the industry that's created around. It goes all the way back up to we need to have planned obsolescence. We can't have homes, lasting hundreds of years. That'd be wrong. I see it everywhere. So what do we do? Oh, shit, we got to go vote harder. Yeah. That's not it. That is not it. That is not it. It is you with the anarchist life that you already live. When you wake up, unless you're in prison or something, you wake up in the morning and your body obeys your commands. You go where, you do whatever you want to. It's about wanting to. That's where all the programming comes in. The K-pop and the culture thing that Phranq keeps going on about. I don't equate that with culture. Culture is a much deeper thing. Culture is grandma says. All this influence in K-pop bullshit and what Facebook says and COVID, that is not culture. That is a mind fuck. That's a psyop. To equate psyops with culture is a mistake, and that is not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, well, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a deeper level, which is what I bring up, because many times you think my version of culture is just about music or celebrating holidays, and when it's not getting into the whole culture thing right now. In fact, there was a video I was going to send you that was talking about the whole Odyssey movie that we spent time on. I'm sure it's becoming more mainstream. The whole pushback with Christopher Nolan.
There is no way they're going to get Elliot, what's-her-face, or his face, or Trent to be Achilles. That's just, that's not possible.
They're doing it. But the thing is, there was a fantastic...
I don't think that's going to make it to the screen. That's stupid as hell.
There was a fantastic video. I think I will, maybe. I'll try and look for it and send it to you. But it was like 20 minutes about the deeper meaning behind what this is about. It's not about just whitewashing or Oscars or what have. It cuts to the very essence of Western culture, of concepts that are in the Odyssey, the Iliad, the concepts of what makes a man a man. Well, how do we perceive our own mortality? And this is the thing. And I really don't want to get too much into this, but when I talk about culture, and Charles Goyette and I, when you're out of town, he was a guest on my show at your place, actually, and we had a great conversation. In the beginning, when we talked about culture, he was thinking what you were thinking, like I'm talking about music or superficial. No, it cuts deeper to that, about things that you don't realize when you're in the fishbowl of your own culture. You take for granted things of what you believe and how you see the world. Not, again, music or holidays. but much deeper. And the fact that they're desecrating what Homer was writing, they think it's all about, oh, we'll just swap this and put a gender swap here and do this. And even a reinterpretation from a feminist perspective, modern in 2026 America. I mean, it's not just about the superficial race. It comes down to how people thought about their world around them. It gets much deeper, but it's hard to talk about it when people themselves don't see their own culture, which is why I know I sound like I'm being a little conceited when I talk about traveling and why. The minute you do, you come back home and you see a mirror of who you are. And that was so telling. And it was a profound moment for me to understand the things I took for granted in my life. I thought I knew, but I didn't know, is all I can say, until I came back after being out of the country for a while. Anyway, so I have to be having a hard break in a little bit, as Ernie knows. So I'm going to play, if you just pardon me, I'm going to play this one video which segues to what you were talking about where do we go to here, and is voting the answer, blah, blah, blah. Let me just play that just to finish up this segment that we've been talking about. And then I want to play a video that, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time for discussion. So Ernie, though, I'm sure will take over. He'll have a lot to say probably about this other video, which is hearing from the current MAGA people and how they interpret what happened with Thomas Massie and what MAGA is about. And when I explain who the video and what and you hear it, it says all you need to hear. And it was so infuriating, I almost crashed my motorcycle coming home. I was listening. I would listen to it at work before I came home, and I'm very calm. I don't let politics rattle me, especially if you're riding a motorcycle. You have to be very focused. And the first time I became I didn't realize how much it was bothering me that I was not riding properly and I had to pull over. And I don't think that's ever happened to me, of everything from this video, which I'll play in just a minute. But before this is a video from J.P. Sears. Many of you all like J.P. Sears. He's the redheaded comedian guy who got into a lot of the commentary. And he's a very, very thoughtful gentleman, but he was talking about the Massie thing, and then he gets to the end and he says, well, basically, so what does this mean and what should we be doing? Again, this is a person who still believed in the system enough that you could vote your way out of it. And this is representative of many Americans waking up the next day after Massie's loss. So here we go.
Because you're skeptical of Israel, we're going to call you anti-Semitic so we can shut you down. It does send that message as well. So, moving forward, how do we move forward? Well, I don't think change can happen in a corrupt system. I don't think we can vote our way out of this. So how do we get out of this? If we know the change isn't going to happen on the corrupt playing field of the political system, then don't put our energy there. Where does our energy deserve to go if we want change to happen? Look around you. See your own life. Long gone are the days, and this is just the most glaring, obvious, final message if you needed it. You're not going to vote your way out of this. You're not going to vote your way into change that you want. That will happen in the playing field of your life. Nobody else is going to deliver it for you. But you can deliver it for you. Living your life in a way that's in impeccable integrity with your values, raising your family accordingly, being a positive asset to your community accordingly, being a positive impact on humanity accordingly. That's how we still have power. That's power that will never be taken away. That's where we create change. It's not in a corrupt political system. By the way, I don't even know if the political system is broken. It may have just been designed this way.
It
might not be broken. It might be functioning the exact way it was designed to, which is to get the people to think it serves them instead of it serving them. Taking self-responsibility, personal excellence, and not just living our values when someone's watching, but living our values when nobody's watching. That's how we express far more power than a vote every 2 years or a vote every 1 year or 4 years expecting some external person to deliver the change. An external person delivering the change, that's pretty far-fetched. And now what we've seen with how, not that Massey was defeated, but how Massey was defeated, I think that proves it's actually impossible. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think the onus is on you and I. So, Turning Point USA drop.
Okay, so then you got Turning Point and how they're trying to backstep the fact that Charlie Kirk was a huge Massey fan, and now they're left with all these videos floating around saying how much Charlie loves Massey, and Turning Point is now celebrating Massey's defeat. So anyway, I don't want to get into that. So that was a very good, I guess, outside summary of what the Freedom's Phoenix has been about for a long time, what Ernie is, banging the carpet about forever. But the point is, this is someone who was not in your mindset, just even a year or so ago, speaking as if he just heard your last monologue. So we are there, and that to me is the 100th monkey.
Yeah, what Ernie says doesn't mean shit.
Oh, no, I know. Trust me, I know as a doctor, we often say you're never a prophet in your own land, right? So Ernie's like, so Phranq finally gets it because J.P. Sears finally
exactly.
Says it. I know you're just like that.
Exactly.
I know you.
Exactly.
Oh God, give me more credit, man. No, I love you, man. We've been. I know where you're from, and believe it or not, Ernie, I know is secretly still disappointed that Massey didn't win. All that you won't admit it though. All right, so
no, it would have been such an enormous blow to the Israel Trump. They could not allow it to happen.
But you know what but what's so interesting is it shows you how against the ropes they are. Before, this sort of influence or meddling or ripping off the American people was always underhanded, and only the Ernie Hancock dumpster diving, which don't get in that story again, but the long-term listeners know. It's like it's only people like you and the rigged was the guy who did the fatally flawed video. And no, it's not. Obviously, many of us understood this. Ron Paul gets it. That this stuff has been going. Yeah, this has been going on for a while, but to wind up being mainstream is the deal. All right. I'm not going to get too bogged in that. So let me just transition.
Well, let me mention one thing before you go.
Yeah.
They're on the second story on Freedom's Phoenix right now. Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com. The Massey blowback, a grassroots movement from dissident media. I haven't watched it yet. I got it up. I kind of, looking at the graphics as it's being seen. One of the graphics in there is from the winners, his opposition that won, whoever his name is, the Israel guy. There's hardly anybody in there. This is the winner scene, the campaign night. The losers, the Massey crowd, was freaking a Ron Paul rally kind of thing.
Yeah.
This, I'm going, it just doesn't matter.
But what's so like important about this is how against the ropes the establishment is, because now they're being seen, right? The fact that Israel allowed, like you're saying, even if it's that rigged, they're using the cover that Israel bought the election in order to maybe cover, according to your theory, that it was, and I'm not necessarily doubting it, but that it was truly rigged from the start. So they're using it. Well, it was just all the money.
They wouldn't do that. That'd be wrong.
But even if they're doing that, Ernie, understand. I mean, you got to see perspective on this, which is they're so in the last inning that they're willing to use what they used to. Well, they just a year or so ago called a trope. If you think Israel affects our elections, just a year or two ago, that was conspiracy theory and a trope. And 4 years ago, you weren't even allowed to even mention it. So the fact that if Israel is allowing, or the system / Israel, same thing, is so blatant that they're going, yeah, all right, well, in order to hide the real deal, go ahead. We're just going to show you. Okay, fine, we're buying the election, so there. I mean, they're not even hiding it. And you might say it shows how emboldened they are on one hand, but you could also argue it shows how desperate they are, that they have nothing left because they're being pulled out from the shadows to see it. And if that's all they have, if that's the best they have at this point, that they're willing to expose themselves, then it is I always say the word wrong, a pyrrhic win. I always say it wrong. But, it's a win, but at what expense? Because now you've completely Pyrrhic victory. I always say that wrong. They've exposed themselves to, if nothing else, the younger generation. I mean, the old boomer generation, Fox News, that generation is going down. And of course, we saw with the voting patterns here. It was 55 and up boomers who basically got their commanding orders from El Fuhrer and Fox News, and they're the ones that put him in. But it's all the young people, just like the Ron Paul movement.
No, the voter ID numbers that put him in.
Yeah. But it's but you're right, though. It's like the same energy of Ron Paul. It's like a 2.0 Ron Paul movement that's even larger because it's a whole nother almost generation of young people.
Let me ask you this
consolidation
question.
Of the media. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this question. Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing the America First thing. She's America First, conservative, Republican, America First, America. Then you have Massey. They overlap a great deal. You know, it's principle. It's more libertarian. It's Austrian economics. It's, you own yourself. It's your money. That's why Libertas.earth is a thing. We've been, we've gotten a lot of feedback. This is why we're doing a little bit more search engine optimization stuff and everything. Not because I give a shit what they say. It's so that we have, because worldwide there's search engine options as well. And when you're doing 54 languages, well, then you have, sometimes, and certainly in the aggregate, a lot more search to Libertas.earth than in English in the U.S. It doesn't matter. It's just like a BRICS versus the petrodollar thing. So we're developing on a worldwide basis. And the people that support us, it's always, people come to me and they say, well, how do we get support? And we got this great idea, and everybody give me $5 and 5 minutes of their time a month, and I can go and save the planet. And I want to do this. What do you want to do? Well, I want to, write this book thing, or I want to do this, or I want to, it's not big enough. The reason we get support is because we think worldwide. It's a much larger thing. It's influences of people stop delegating their decisions to these little government entities that make up, they're the tiny dots, as Larkin Rose would say. You got hundreds of millions of people out here, and you got this little tiny dot over here. Do what we say, or we'll send our enforcers on you. And I'm going, wow, this realization is what's coming. And it doesn't matter. I don't matter. It doesn't matter. I could scream it and do it and whatever. Now, people inside the community, they're like, yeah, Ernie, yeah, what Ernie said, or with Ernie, let's get Ernie to help with, why? Because they know I understand. I understand what they understand. I understand that, this is going to fix itself sooner or later, but we got to go through Lady Liberty's torch ashes before the freedom's phoenix. I'm telling you, here it comes, and it's not going to be pretty. It's next November is when we're planning. It looks like a lot of people want to come out. We got somebody coming out this weekend, but we got a lot of people that want to come out and help and do. Well, I'm not going to make them suffer the freaking summer. So after Halloween and before Thanksgiving, we'll have a big thing out here, and we know we can get people, learnified on a lot of the stuff that we're doing. But that's not even the point. It's not how, it's why. Do what you want. Figure it out yourself. Here's what I'm doing. The freaking trommeling the dirt and the adobe of, hyper earth bag geodesic whatever. When you live in a forest in Maine, you think you're going to be doing this? Probably not. You get a Harbor Freight mill and you freaking use the wood that's all around you. So it's not the how. That's not the point. The point is that you do it. You do what? Keep breathing in and out. And whatever it takes to sustain that, to protect that, to raise the next generation that's going to be able to do that on their own, to be able to select good spouses, to be able, and technology. I'm all about technology. But do I do the convenience of having it on some cloud? Do I do the convenience? Because now you can get your own AI on your own servers. You can have Jarvis, not Alexa. That is what's got them. Because Massey and this guy running against Mayor Bass in L.A., some guy, he's doing, Bob and I yesterday, I stopped by Bob's on the way back to town. We're there. He's showing me all these videos that he's making, it's a, Oh, it's a bunch of stuff different in Spanish. He's just beating the crap out of them. Is he going to win the votes? I don't know. Doesn't freaking matter. General public opinion. That's where we need to be focused. That's where we need to have our own expression, manifest it, and where we spend our money, where you send your kids to school, what kind of preparations are you making, a lot of extended family and so on, asking about the solar stuff. So I keep sending them all these coupons I get from everybody, the great deal for $1,000 you two can be off grid, pretty much, especially RVs, here we go. And then what about commerce? And what happens when you have the ability to do a gold-backed currency with a credit card that's on the BRICS system of Hong Kong, Singapore, of you bypass and buy? What are they going to do? You're not allowed. It's illegal. You're counterfeiting. And Donna, she had a closing. We need to, extend the warranty on the tractor. That's another 2 year. That was $3,000. Then it's we're getting all the fencing or whatever. What we do that with? Donna had a closing on a home. She got big check. She goes in. We left Bank of America. Go to a credit union place. We getting pretty good. We have a private our business account there, and we're doing okay. And she deposits a wire transfer from a local bank to the local bank. It's kind of your money. You can't have it now. What? Explain this to me. What we could have done is gone to the local bank, cashed it, then you got gazillions of dollars. You go in to deposit. Oh, where'd you get this money? What kind of, you a drug dealer? Oh, and you want to get it out? This guy, what do you say you need it for? It's kind of go, didn't we come over here to avoid that crap? Well, his policy is kind of naked. Wow. These systems is what the problem is. Now, they're doing it to protect you, they say, but it's because of their vulnerable system. And then the quantum thing's coming up. They're just cracked everything all the time already. Yeah. So we're looking at a lot more options, which is, another word for freedom, options to compete. They have to make those options illegal. That is a counterfeit crypto. You're not allowed to do that one. You have to go through this approved bank of the whatever. We can seize this here if you don't comply with, you didn't get your shot, and, what about your vaccine record of your biometric, stare into the world coin orb of Sam Altman kind of bullshit. Then you have Altman, Elon Musk, that funded OpenAI under the condition that they have, he loses his lawsuit. Now, of course, he'll appeal and go, it's so fuck up, but we can vote harder. No, that is not how I use the election cycle. It's only because people are paying attention.
Okay. So I let me play this last one. So this one's it's almost 5 minutes, but this is on the playlist here. This is the moment that I kind of broke about with. I was curious about people who, like, the cognitive dissonance, which is a word sometimes I overuse to try to explain how we're all shifting.
Okay, let's define that so people know. I hear that all the time. Cognitive dissonance is when you hold fast two competing ideas or principles in your head that are in counter with each other. They can't both be true. Right. So you have this cognitive dissonance. It's separate. You just kind of, whatever. This is true when I say it, and this is also true when I say it, when they're both in conflict, and then you just go crazy. You're just stupid.
Yeah.
That's what cognitive dissonance is.
So I understand why many people would have voted for Massey, forgetting all the corruption thing, or just for a moment, which irritates Ernie. But I can say, all right, you're watching Fox News, a bunch of boomers, and Massey is undermining what MAGA is about the BBB that was supposed to be helping everybody. I could see many of these people are Christian who are following certain of the mega churches, which do get quite a bit of money from Israel. This is documented, and that's a whole other conversation. So I know one or two of these people. So I can at least understand, but these aren't people who are real political mavens or people that I've actually felt that I've gotten to know, at least through the internet, or even one person who's been on our show. People who I truly respect their opinion, or at least how they process thought, how they look at world events. Right. And, just like with you, when something happens, I know where the Ernie processing machine, I could usually guess, as this audience can, about how you're going to interpret a lot of these things. I mean, granted, I always love your take, and, I'm always interested in people's takes. But, I do respect Ernie's opinion with things. And I know you respect mine with things, may not always agree, but you kind of understand the logic of what goes through the mind. And, it takes a lot of time sometimes to feel that level of confidence with somebody. And one of those people, one of the few people that I felt that I really understood, was Dr. Steve Turley. And he's been a guest on our show twice. And, he's kind of he's a very didactic individual. He's very learned. He's a scholar as far as political history, and he's almost like what's his name, Richard Davis Hansen, as I'm getting his name right. He's another Dr. Hansen, who's also a political scientist who I have a lot of respect for, who is all in on Trump. Like, Trump can't do wrong. And Dr. Turley, he started to kind of back off slowly when the whole Epstein thing was going on with, what, you still looking at Epstein? What is the Democrat hoax? I'm thinking, how can someone like Turley, he must be like myself, he must be looking at this as, well, Donald Trump promised this, this, and this, and now he's blatantly looking at us, gaslighting us. We know he's lying to us. So, Dr. Turley is a very religious individual, extremely religious. I mean, he taught for like 20 years at a Christian college. I mean, the guy, he's a seminary student, the whole bit. So, how does someone who, this is what I brought up before about the bane that many certain Christians are going to have defending Epstein and Trump because it's pedophilia, how does somebody like Dr. Turley, who has a huge audience, and they're very religious, and he's an intellectual, and I'm thinking there's no way that he could go along with this. I mean, as crestfallen and disappointed as we are about Trump, you can't go along with it, right? You have to at least criticize the guy. And he wouldn't do it. And instead, he would go on to other videos. He would never comment on the highlights of the day, the things that we were debating about, whether it's Charlie Kirk or whether it was about what's going on with Epstein, with Trump, or the war in Iran. Like these key points, he would just ignore and talk about, I don't know, flag burning or some trans issue. I mean, like we're talking 2 years ago. Same thing with Matt Walsh. Same thing. Like they just are not addressing these issues. They're talking about topics I'm not interested in, so I stopped listening. So after the Massey thing, I'm thinking, I want to check in with Turley. I don't check in with him or Poole or any of these people anymore for a bunch of reasons. But I'm like, I respect his opinion. How is he going to interpret what happened? And he was celebrating the loss of Massey. And the first half.
Of course he was.
Of course, yeah. In the first half, he does this stuff, but then he goes to commercial break and he comes back. And I just want to play the last 5 minutes, and I'm going to have to drop the phone, and I'm sure you'll have a lot to say. But it's I have to say, before Ernie, you'll love it. But I'm going to give you credit again. I can't believe I'm doing this. But Ernie, one of Ernie's points, and I still defend my point of view, but I won't go into it right now. But Ernie's thing was, define what Make America Great Again is, right? It's about principle and what happens if you don't follow that, and what is MAGA exactly. And we've had a lot of debates about it, but this cuts to the point of what Ernie was warning about for years. So I'm giving you a bunch of credit, Ernie. My God, I should give you a back rub on top of all this. Well, I'll give you a foot rub when I see you next. All right, so here. Yeah.
Prostate rub.
Deal. All right. So here we go. This is what I heard. I couldn't believe it. And my wife was actually as upset as she's been over all this, just like your wife is, I know. When she heard what you're about to hear, my wife actually broke out laughing in a hysterical laugh that she couldn't wrap her head what she was hearing. But here we go. This is what the intellectuals are defending.
Okay, wait. Savarta has seen this?
Oh, yeah. And
Savarta saw J.P. Spears thing?
Oh, she saw that one too.
Has she heard my rants before?
Oh, yeah, because we hang out with you.
No, I mean, when your wife is
don't
going.
worry, we're all.
I don't know, sounds a lot like Rudy, Phranq.
I've been giving you credit all day.
All right, go.
All right, come on. Jeez Louise, what else do you want? All right, here we go. We got more credit coming in, but all right, here we go, guys. Buckle in and take a stiff drink. Here we go.
Now, let's zoom out a bit here, because what happened in Kentucky last night is really much more than just one congressman losing a primary. This is about the very identity of the Republican Party and who owns the MAGA movement. And the answer is becoming crystal clear. The MAGA movement belongs to one person. We're going to talk more about the Republican Party in our next video. I want to really focus right now on the MAGA movement itself. The MAGA movement, when all's said and done, if you are MAGA, you are loyal ultimately not to a policy, you're loyal ultimately to a person. The MAGA movement belongs, when all's said and done, to one person, not to libertarianism, not to the Rand Paul wing, not to the Thomas Massey brand of ideological purity. In fairness, not to Steve Bannon or Steve Turley for that matter. The MAGA movement does not belong to the establishment or rhinos or neocons. The MAGA movement belongs to one person, Donald J. Trump.
And Israel.
Think about what unites the MAGA movement. It's not classical libertarianism. It's not small government theory. It's not obsessive deficit hawk constitutionalism. It's not principled republicanism. It's not Epstein. It's not go along to get along establishmentism. It's not the far right. It's not the anarcho-populist. It's not any particular wing of the modern day center right. What ultimately unites MAGA voters is Donald J. Trump, because they see Trump alone as the one man who will stand up and fight for them. They see Donald Trump alone as the one man who will never abandon them. He will never betray them. Yet it does not come down to a single issue or policy. It doesn't come down to Trump supposedly breaking his promise or failing to deliver. It comes down to the fact that Donald J. Trump has proven himself to be the one man who will stand up and fearlessly face any foe that seeks to destroy this country and fight on our behalf. Fight, fight, fight. You don't understand that. I wrote a whole book on this called, interestingly enough, Fight. If you don't understand it, I'm sorry, you don't get MAGA. You don't get MAGA, you don't get the Trump phenomenon. Too many commentators, too many podcasters out there are ultimately advocates for a particular wing of the right, a particular sliver of MAGA. They're advocates for this issue or for that issue, this political paradigm or that political paradigm, a particular ideology, a particular political philosophy. And when MAGA overlaps with that, oh, they're so happy, they're all in, jolly, jolly. But when MAGA moves in a different direction, as it inevitably will, they're the ones that feel betrayed. They're the first ones to, that's it, it's over. That's not the overwhelming majority of MAGA, but those are not the voters that showed up in Kentucky's 4th last night. MAGA voters are held together ultimately not by a policy, but by a person. Not by a faithfulness to an ideology, but a willingness to fight for what is good. They don't care about a message. They care about a man. And when that man points his finger at a politician he says is standing in his way to make America great again, MAGA voters get rid of him quick. That's why Donald Trump has an endorsement success rate of 97%. It's unprecedented, 97%. Trump fights for us, and we fight for him. That's the MAGA movement. And Tom Massey, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Liz Cheney, Bill Cassidy, a growing number of once Republican faithful, they're all learning that when Trump fights for us and we fight for him, we win.
Win what?
Every single time.
Win what?
Yeah, no, exactly. And look, I know I wish we were able to play this earlier, but I'm just going to tell you that it's I mean, they're not even hiding it. I mean, it's basically saying what the left has been worrying about all along of this as being a cult, of people thinking that, I mean, they're in a cult not knowing it. It has never been me or the people like Tucker Carlson and the rest, but this is called personality. I mean, and for someone this intelligent to blatantly say it doesn't matter about the policies, it doesn't matter about a philosophy, all the things that I have said, meaning to Steve Turley, the thousands of videos over 8 to 10 years he's been doing this about, Epstein and all of these things. I mean, he's done all these videos. It's like, none of that matters. If Trump decides that he wants to be a leftist today, well, then we're going to be a leftist. If he says we're going to, lock up X person, or we're going to make something illegal, or we're going to ban Christianity, I mean, for God's sake, it's like, well, Trump said so. It's like this is North Korea, and I can't fathom again. And I could
the Vatican.
It was. I couldn't. I could understand other people, maybe others that I know, maybe even believing this, but to hear someone as someone I respect and intelligent as Steve Turley on so many levels to basically come down and say what he just said, I swear to God, I feel like I'm in an alternate reality, and I think it's like the COVID deal where you have neighbors and doctors telling you to put an experimental drug in your child or yourself and
do
think
you
nothing
think
of
Steve Turley would come on our show again?
I would love it. Have Donna reach out. It would be
I
great.
think he will. And why would I want him? Just to beat up on him? I don't care.
Well, that's what you're asking. I'd say, yeah, let's give it a try, but I'm sure he won't. No, he won't. And he, by the way, in the first part of the video, he also was kind of like bashing not bashing, but kind of giving a little slight to the libertarians and Ron Paul. He says, Thomas Massey, self-described libertarian constitutionalist. And remember, he came from the Ron Paul wing. So like he definitely gets that. Oh, I know, yeah. But to hear what you just heard, it cements so much about, I mean, not just Turley, but that wing. And also,
the same thing happened to Tim Pool. It went down this road.
And it went down, and it boggles your mind. Like, are they, like, you don't know.
Boggle mine.
Is it that they're getting money from AIPAC, which is the easy way to look at this, or is there just, whether it's like cognitive dissonance or just a different worldview, but it's so blatant. I'll leave on this last point, which is I feel like at least I'm glad he said what he said, because that way, I know, don't get frustrated, but it's like you don't have to waste our time even trying to talk to these people, because they're basically like saying, we don't care about the issues. Like, I keep thinking, like, well, maybe they're not hearing it from a certain perspective, or they're not aware of X, Y, Z. They're basically saying, we get it. We understand Trump's changed his position. He's saying, yeah, well, all right, so he changed his mind on that thing.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So to even have a conversation about consistency or about what the promises were, whatever, they're literally saying, who cares if he broke his promise? Because we're bowing down to this guy. It doesn't matter what he says. And this is coming from a political erudite, essentially, of Steve Turley. Never thought I'd see the day. Anyway, Ernie, go ahead and take another few final laps. I really wish I didn't have to leave right now. But yeah, you're right. It's like, well, what are the principles and what does it really stand for? And, there were principles.
GDT. I mean,
There we go. All right, Ernie, it was a great show. We'll talk next time, but we'll finish it up. And goodbye, audience, and we'll have a lot to say about this next week, I'm sure.
See you later. Oh, and what would I say? Nothing. Just same old crap. One of the things it was interesting yesterday. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, here in the land. I mean, we have Occupy the Land site that we do. We have the videos for that. We have a lot of other, like podcasts that I'll go on, and I do different things. And you go to freedomsphoenix.com and you'll see. And yesterday, Phranq didn't go, but it was a club that we belong to. Is the no such thing as a free lunch club. No free lunch. You got to pay for your lunch. Whatever. But it's an economic discussion group that I enjoy these guys. And what they had on was the woman that came. She'll be on the show, or Donna's recruiting her. She said she'd come on. She is an AI expert. She works with Microsoft and Amazon, big banks, and so on, integrating AI into it. And her thing was, we're screwed. And she was, I don't have it on my personal stuff. I don't let my grandkids touch it. I just, nope. AI is there to screw us, and it's going to be whatever. But I'm an expert in it, and I do it, and I'm here to warn you. Well, what was interesting is, I had a lot of questions. There wasn't a lot of time for questions. You just did the round thing, like 20 people get the, one question and a comment, and then that was it. But there was a lot of opposition to it. People that thought it was the greatest thing ever, and then we use it for this, and look at how many cool things we could do, and yada, yada, yada. So we're going to have her on, and we'll talk about it. But it was interesting to have somebody that depends on that industry to have an opinion and an understanding of how dangerous it was and why there should be, more regulation. Of course, you're talking to a bunch of libertarians, but, so that was of interest. Then, customer service stuff I'm having with, I don't want to dump on them yet, but it's becoming a thing where I bought my tractor and the service on it. But I'm more interested in the incentives. How is this able to happen with a large company with big branches all around? And I go, there is something systemic here. There's something going on. I'm a businessman. I've been, I get to claim that old man thing. And it's like Bobby's like, the curmudgeon. You get your curmudgeon going. Get your curmudgeon on. Because you get to a certain age where you're not going to BS me. I've seen this cycle, this trait, this type of man, this type of person, this BS, this psyop, this, babbling bullshit of whatever. And once you see certain traits and different things, and it comes down to something as simple as, how clean is their desk? How many tools are laying around all over the place? How much is, how dirty is their whatever? How much, that kind of thing. So it got to where yesterday when I picked it up, there was a bunch of little stuff that I specifically had them take pictures of, put on the work order, the list of whatever, and I felt like I was a babysitter. I had to go around and check everything. There's hardly any hydraulic fluid in here. You didn't do it, and you changed, and you didn't do it, and you tore up my wiring on this, and you didn't put it back, and this zert, you changed the zert, but you didn't put any stuff in it. It takes a tube and a half to grease the freaking drive. What the shit? Am I a babysitter? So I've always been nice, but I remember there was a CBS Good Morning Sunday thing when I was a young man. Well, it was after high school, but it was like, I don't remember if I was married by then or not. I just remember seeing it like early 80s. That he had gone and experienced customer service in Japan. And it was awesome. He's like, oh my God, they're there to help, they greet you, they all this kind of stuff. So then, America, they put a senior citizen, in a wheelchair in front of Walmart and, and they're done. Or you go Singapore Airlines and you get, super babe, stewardesses, and then you go over here and you got, senior citizen, well, let me help you. See, you can't put that up there. I'll kick you off the flight. It's just a different mindset of customer service and, this ESG, DEI, and we got to give everybody everything, and disability of, we got to give bitches, and Karens positions of power and authority because they need jobs too, or something. So it's just different. And the point was that he was making is that because Americans are good and we're tolerant and we want to get along and we're just kind of, you go with the flow, we're putting up with shit we shouldn't. And we're suffering as a society because our standards have been lowered so much that we're going to get the crap beat out of us just on customer service, whether it's AI or actual human being that knows something. And there's few companies that live up to that, and you can tell the difference. And one in particular that I deal with, on a regular basis that I come to really enjoy is Signature Solar, signaturesolar.com. I don't get all my stuff there. I get, sometimes I get deals on whatever. But if I need help with anything, solar, going to some inverter I got from, it's an actual human being that you don't have to wait that long to get on, or they'll just call you back or whatever, and they have a freaking answer. And they're nice about it. And they spend time with you. You got to wait. I know they're spending time with until it's solved with somebody else. I'm good. I'll wait my turn. I'll be on there 20 minutes. I'll have them just call me back, text me, whatever, and we'll get it taken care of. I know it's going to get taken care of. Better than Grok. I mean, just reading the manual, whatever. But a lot of times I use, Grok to kind of answer, okay, cool, that's what I need to know, boom, fix that. This is the mindset that I'm in when I go, and every time I bring in my tractor to come, we need the warranty of them. We're going to milk the company for the warranty. Well, maybe they're doing okay, but I'm without my tractor for a couple of weeks, or they give me a loan or something doesn't do, what I set mine up for. So I'm nice. A lot of times you don't get any benefit in going just being a dick, but you build up all of these examples. And you have, like a manager, or your sales guy, that somebody that you just kind of, here it happened again. How's it going? Well, this, just want to keep the story alive. All the things that I'm dealing with, and this, I knew. I get out of my truck. I'm in street clothes. I was in town. I'm in meetings, and I'm doing. I'm not wanting to get greasy. Okay. Go up, and I said, service manager's there. She's like, oh, we got you taken care of, everything we have done. I'm going, the first thing I'm going to check is whether they service this. None of it was done. And I'm going, this, and did we not take a picture of that? And I said to do that. Did they do it? No. This, did we not take a picture of that? And you did they do it? No. Did they do all this stuff? Did they fill it? No. Did they take this out? No. Then they got, so I'm going, okay, I ordered parts. I had some, bolts that need to be replaced to something, whatever. Wrong size. You know what? I go, I sent pictures. It's on the schematic. They go, really? Well, did you get everything else you ordered? I go, how the hell do I know? Everything was wrong before. I don't know these belts fit. I have no faith whatsoever. So, I like the individuals. They're not, they're not dicks or intentionally malicious or anything. It's just their service department. And the guys they have there just because they're so in demand. Anybody with a pulse that will actually get their fingers greasy or something is a charge when they sit around, jerking around doing nothing. And they just not follow up. I mean, I feel like I'm babysitting. Hour 20 minutes. I'm out there helping them do it. Get me a guy out here. We're going to do it now. Right freaking now. I don't even want to hear. I got the parts guys coming out. I got the service guys coming out. I got the sales guys coming out trying to make nice. Because they know. And we do the Occupy the Land thing. I'm a talk show host. I have access to the internet. And I go on the Reddit forums. I go on Yelp. I go on their company. I could be a dick. And they know it, and they know I know it, and I make sure they know I know how to do it. And this is permanent. I mean, man, convince me that you guys are taking care of business. Because Don and I are going to go to one of the other branches, several miles, God, maybe another 40 miles further to go. We're just going to go spot check them and see if it's a company systemic thing. Do you have a training facility for your guys? You're just winging it. Is it a nepotism thing? The branch man in charge is somebody's cousin's son of the son of, the black sheep of the family. And that's kind of what's going on. It's a family, it's a thing. So after all this, they're kind of stressed. So the one person, a woman that has been that's trying to take care of this stuff and putting all this on, it's really building up to where they're doing a company-wide thing. I finally get from the sales guy that I've been dealing with. Yeah, it's last couple of years, it's got to a point. And it's like, I go, yeah, I've gone through 4 service managers. And whatever I think I'm doing, building, I go, no, I'm doing you a favor. You want it documented? You want to go, line by line by? So I go to the service. She's not the service manager. He's gone again. They're on number 4, whatever. They're looking for one, and it's kind of dumping on her. And I go, look, I just want you to know I understand what you're under. They're making you responsible for everything, and you don't have the authority to fix it. That's the first thing you got to do, is get the authority. And there's a bunch of other stuff. I'd come in here in 3 weeks, I'd fix it. I'm just, managerial, whatever. I don't have to know a damn thing about a freaking diesel engine, and I can fix what your shit is. I can tell that right now. You get these guys sitting around the water cooler, yakking, doing nothing, get their ass out there and actually work. You wonder why you're weeks behind? I can tell you why. They know. I said, I did this for you. This is so you can have a well-documented, articulated, how the rubber meets the road experiences of one customer that bought a whole kit of whatever to go fix and do and document it, and here's the videos of and you're fucking my shit up. Just saying. You're welcome. She understood. You're right. Thank you. We're getting, that kind of thing. It's not that I was really that angry. I was really that happy that I finally I'm just going to bring it all together, and it was manifested so perfectly. I like the Kubota tractor. The tractor's fine. It's not that's not the problem. It's a service department on everything, and them trying to milk warranty work out of whatever is really going on. So I'm just going, this is no. I tell you that because we have to be that way with everything. If we aren't complaining about the service we get from our government, or that you're delegating authority to someone to serve, oh, well, you take care of it for me, and I'm not allowed to bitch. Yeah, you get kicked out of MAG. You get kicked out. You're doing it wrong. And DJT is the one that says. The second we stop bitching, the second we stop articulating exactly what the problem is, how the rubber meets the road, it gets worse and worse and worse. I'm officially a senior citizen now, 65 years old. And you know what that means? Now in my mind, it means I get to bitch. I get to say, I've been there, done that. I have, they were surprised. They go, how do you know? I go, I've owned restaurants. I always have my own business. Do you think I can't tell? This kind of systemic thing comes from the top. This is because it's allowed. There's not a standard set. There's not a delegated authority down to people to fix it. People are here just walking around eggshelled, just no crap's going to happen, and it permeates throughout the entire process, and it infects. If it's happening here, that means the next store and another store and another. I'm telling you, I already know. I'm going to get my bias confirmed when Don and I go visit another dealership, but I mean, I already know, just from experience. So when Phranq comes on and does it, well, we'll give you props. I already knew. You could see it. It's where the incentives are. It's what I also, a little inside. One reason I had to go into town is because yesterday I had an appointment. They started the process in February. To go. My son-in-law is a financial planner that does whatever retirement stuff and what you apply for and your Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare and whatever the hell. Because when you get retired, the hospital, they won't even take you. I mean, you got to go through this. I had no idea. All this crap. And then, of course, the incentives of, if you don't, then you get charged later if something happens. And it's, every year it goes up another 10% that you pay. Wow. It's incentives, punishments. We're going to make you. Okay. Well, I never thought I was going to ever get, Social Security retirement anyway, even though I pay into a gazillion dollars. And I'm going, all right. So I just do what my son-in-law said. Fill out that, dude. Okay. Well, then they came back, oh, you're denied because we couldn't read your passport. But they had me actually send in the card. Yeah, one of those card things too. So I okay, birth certificate, that, then they just send it back. That denied. Okay. Well, I'm curious. Why? I mean, just out of entertainment, okay, what do you say you do here? Well, because I'm Ernest Theodore Hancock the Third. They changed when I got my Social Security card at 16 back in mid-70s or something. I was born in Florida, but they had it as Arizona because I got it here, and usually they want you to get it at birth, and now they do, so you can write off. It's just incentives. It's crap. It's database. So I go in, they said, because they couldn't read the passport. I was like, well, that's bullshit. I mean, what are you talking about? I go, here. So I had the appointment, and she happened to be a supervisor, and so she had to go through the entire thing, change all the stuff, and then there's one more step, and then we're done. Okay. Well, I can't do that step now. Why? Well, it's my level thing. But, they want you to come back. Well, the next appointment is July 10th. And it'll be an online or a phone thing. It takes 5 minutes and come in and you're done. And you get 4 or 5 months of check. Whatever. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is, as a customer, someone that's to be served, can I be an asshole to Social Security and the U.S. government like I can to the dealership for my tractor? Oh, it don't work that way. Where do you manifest your displeasure? Voting! And it doesn't freaking matter. So what do you think is going to happen? There's no incentive for them. I mean, she was nice. I knew to be nice, and we're chatting it up, and grandma and grandpa there kind of talking about grandkid, kind of this and that. Yeah, this is kind of messed. Well, she's a little bit more incentivized to fix it because it was obviously somebody just took. I punt. I put this in this pile over here and pay me money for putting it in this pile and saying no. I mean, you can see what was going on. They came up against. They just didn't know what, but something. I have no idea. It's stupid. So we get it fixed. July 10th. I may not be here. I'm probably going to be in Washington State, in the cooler months of July. Oh my God, spend at least a couple of weeks recharging in not 120 degree weather. And where I got, you can do it by phone. We'll call you, and then you have to make sure you're ready on that day because we're going on that day. You're going to sit around staring at your phone on that day. Are they going to call at that time? Well, probably not. But I mean, whatever. How do you voice your displeasure on your service, what you paid for? And then the deadline for extending our warranty on the tractor is coming up by the end of this month. So we're like, okay, $3,000. I've already had over $10,000 worth of warranty that they kind of manufacture and whatever. But for doing the tractor. Well, man, you go and get, that's going to be gazillion dollars. I'm probably, at this rate, I need to do it. Plus, I want to do it because I need the tractor, get through the build, that kind of thing. So $3,000. I said, I'm right. My wife, Donna, was standing there at the parts thing, paying for the parts that we ordered. That were wrong, by the way. As she does that, she goes, I just did it. Got the approved, extended the warranty. I just paid another $3,000 for you to screw up my shit. I mean, really? Is this what, a little bit nicer than that, but not much. I was definitely showing my ass. I was manifesting my displeasure to everybody and every department that I was doing. I'm going, this how you guys run? At the end, go to the service person. This was for you. This is to get your authority to fix. Somebody's got to be in charge. Somebody's got to. Who's fixing this? I get from one of the managers. This has been a thing. We're in a company-wide redo, kind of company-wide to company-wide. And I go, you know why? Because I guarantee it wasn't just me. I guarantee that. Yep, you're right. Will they fix it? What's going to have to happen? Somebody up high's got to get replaced, fired, somebody, something. But Thomas Massie, you're not in Congress anymore. Oh, we're going to go after Marjorie Taylor Greene too. Where and how do you complain when you get Dr. Steve Turley, Tim Pool, other people? No, MAGA, it's Donald Trump, because that's the message of, and I repeat, and Donald Trump's MAGA. Get over it. But who's on the outside? Who are the ones bitching? Who are the ones complaining in detail? J.P. Spears, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Alec Jones, Tucker Carlson. Not lightweights. Not people with that. Now, with the Massey thing, who'd they piss off? The Lovolution. Should not have done that. How is that going to manifest? Even if we get G. Edward Griffin does the Freedom Force thing coming to Arizona to do that, how will that be manifested? What is going to be the win? Is it going to be some vote total? You know, NBC channel, what the hell, and come out in the news anchor and so won, and this means that because we said, and CNN and Fox News overlap on that, and it's over, and you conceded, and kind of, and we rule you now? Wow. This is exactly how revolutions start. And they can take many different forms. How are you positioned to best thrive it? Get out of the cities. Get more self-sufficient. Bring one of the spouses into the home to take care of that, to grow the food, to educate the children, to be generation next, be able to maintain a society of peace and prosperity. Because if you don't do that, it won't get done. And it starts at a fundamental understanding of you own yourself, which is why James Corbett and I did Libertas.Earth. And it's taken off. It's so fundamental. So when Phranq comes, oh, he was right. Of course I was right. It's so fundamental. And then, oh, but MAGA, what the hell does MAGA mean? And now we got it. See, finally came. Trump said it. Everybody said MAGA is what the fuck I say it is, a.k.a. Donald J. Trump. You didn't know that? I don't know what else it's come full circle. It's neon flash, and even Phranq agree. I mean, we might as well talk about movies every week. You know, let him say the word culture all the time. Well, it's not, you know, when he says culture, it's not what I mean by culture. Culture is a much more basic, hard, grandma says kind of thing. You know, this psyop, culture bullshit that they're doing now, that has nothing to do with it. That's just psyop. That's fleeting. That's temporary. That's this election cycle. That's you think culture is going to be a word? It's a word now. You just wait until we get into like July, August. You know, certainly by Labor Day when we go into the election cycle. So when they start actual early voting, you know, which it gets, you know, it's weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months ahead. I mean, it's just ridiculous now, and we got to stop it. We got to stop it. We got the president of the Senate holding all this stuff back. You're not going to get the election. One more election cycle. And these election cycles mean what? Nothing. There's no manifestation. Ooh, MAGA won. Oh, we're getting the Republican. And what has changed? Not a damn thing. And the only thing that got through by, it's a coalition of pissed off Republicans and some Democrats that did was the Epstein files. That was it. That went out, that man, you were not in charge. Well, we're going to take care of business now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Massey out. The exceptions that prove the rule. Thomas Massey Revolution, you should watch it. It wasn't very long. It was less than an hour, 40 minutes or something. And Dr. Paul had a lot to say in it and so on. They still got a thing on. They're not focused on Rand Paul that much. His big focus has been the Fauci thing. When they passed the statute of limitations on prosecuting a week or two ago, and it's just nothing's getting done. When we had the AI woman talking, she was given a lot of stuff this audience knows, and we cover on Freedom's Phoenix about the data centers and how much power they take and what they're going to do and everything. I mean, it's not about that. Whatever they come up with is a problem they solve. It'll be fusion reactors. They're going to space-based data centers with polar orbits that's constantly in the sun of power and ruling you of whatever. Whatever the problem is, they'll solve the problem. They'll throw money at the problem. They'll get whatever the problem. One thing, the interesting question that I had that she didn't know is I'm going, what about organoids? What they're doing is they're able to create mini brains. Because our entire body, we process enormous amounts of data, and our brain uses like 30 watts or something. It's a third of our energy goes into powering our brain. That's not true for most animals. Primates, certainly human beings and dolphins or whatever. Ooh, man, we're cranking up the watts for that brain power thing. You need to feed that brain. Well, that's not near what caloric intake is for most animals. We put a third of all the muscles, everything, a third of your energy goes into powering your brain. That's not true for all species. So that organoid, these brain cells, these neurons, they're having interfacing literally with transistors, with chips and so on. They are able to increase massively the processing power using biologics, like transistors and gates and synapses, whatever the hell they're doing. Organoids, brain organoids. You just remember, look that up. All of a sudden, these data centers are going to need, a fraction of the energy and do twice as much processing. Then what? What's your complaint then? What's your bitch then? But about the water used in the power, I go, what happens when that? I had Eric Peters on. He's a big gearhead. He writes a lot of opinion stuff on the economy. He's on Lou Rockwell a lot and everything. I've had him on a couple times, and I lost interest, even though he's very popular and he, has, a lot of opinions on, different stuff. But he was so against electric cars. Why? Because they're not gas cars. Okay, what's your argument? It's not about Minority Report and delivering you to the police station. It's not about, they can, the kill switch, which they're putting in, internal combustion cars, by the way. And then you have, all of them. And you're going, okay, what's your complaint? Well, it's range. They'll fix that. It's charge time, the comparison to filling up your gas. I don't like that. They'll fix that. It's longevity of the system, how long it can go before you junkyard. They'll fix that. What happens when they fix all this stuff? Then are you anti-electric? Then what? Oh, it's performance. Yeah, well, it kicks the shit out of gas now. Now what? Well, see, you keep coming up with all these reasons and it gets addressed. Then what's your argument? Well, because it doesn't go vroom, 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 and I like gas and somebody's paying me or something. I'm wow. They never argued the right argument. Freedom's the answer. What's the question? I get to have a subjective standard by which I run my life of what I want. What do I want? I want to make use. I'm not 100% on all my batteries and everything right now. And I'm going to be generating power for another 6 hours, and where does it go? I just wasted opportunity. Give me an electric car. Keep that some bitch topped off. Now I can go to town and back, You know, these things got 400, 600, 800-mile ranges now. You know, you're getting over 300 beating the crap out of my cars. So I'm going, okay. So I get a 350, let's say 400-mile range, which is common now, you know, a lot of the electric cars. So I'm going, all right, 400-mile range. That's a couple of trips to and back and from my desert into the whatever without plugging it in again. And what's my cost? Nothing. I'm buying 300. I get $1,200 worth of diesel fuel delivered tomorrow. Why? Because I'm getting at $4 a gallon, running my tractor and all my crap here. It's cheaper than buying it at $5.50, $6 a gallon. I wish I had an electric. Someday I'm going to get an electric. I got an old Montero. I'm ready to put electric hubs on it when they get down to the price to make it worth doing it. Hell, I got the batteries. I can get the batteries. You know, Chinese selling really cheap batteries. What is your reason? What's your use case? What are you saying you're doing here? How are you manifesting your will? With your actions, with your money spent, with your focus, with your attention? It's all serving somebody or something else. Because you're susceptible to the psyop of convenience. The AI woman, she goes, you know, how much of your data you think? And I'm like, you know, me and one of the other guys simultaneously said all of it. Yeah, you totally agreed. Just by using your phone, just by getting that app, just by wanting to watch that movie. I totally agree, I totally agree, I totally agree, I totally agree. Do you agree? Yeah, absolutely. Now, I totally agree. And they're taking all that data, and what are they doing with it? They just feed it back into you. You go, oh my God. You can't even think about something that doesn't start showing up ads. Certainly an age thing. You know, I hit my age, all of a sudden, man, I get enough, you know, erectile dysfunction promotion of I doing the achy breaky muscle spasm, heart and balding, kind of got too much hair someplace, not enough. Another, God, man, we got a thing for you. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. What do you see coming? Look into your life. What do you see the future as? The cost of things, your pensions, the promise of, you know, what return you get on whatever, and it's gone. If your wealth and value is on a computer screen, a statement, or a statement in the mail, or whatever, picky swear of this kind, you know, that is not it. So what do we have our silver and precious metal, whatever else we got, tools and everything for? To be able to convert our life and liberty and labor, property, effort into living. Not just life, you know, breathing in and out. Living. To be able to not have to worry about that which sustains us. Do we got enough electricity to run the coolers and the air conditioners so we don't, you know, burn up? The heaters so we don't get too cold? Have shelter to keep us out of the wind and rain? To have food, you know, sustain our bodies and breathe in and out? Have water to keep us, you know, alive? To feed our souls with activity and camaraderie and community and children, grandchildren, and whatever. Living. Or are you just surviving? Are you serving someone? Are you livestock? Quit being livestock. Get some livestock. Preferably not in the form of humans. And all this stuff that goes on. I look at these graphics. They're going to have the 250th anniversary UFC fight on the event at the White House lawn of... Wow. Is this Rome? Is this gladiator sports? Is this bread and circuses? Well, it worked before. We'll do it again. You know? I just... Wow. They didn't have a ballroom so that it rivals the Senate of Rome. We have all the big high ceilings and columns and everything's white and walk around in robes and wearing gold wreath crown of I'm in charge of, and they actually embrace that mentality. We're going to win so much you're tired of winning. Oh, please stop winning. There's so much winning we're winning while they close the Persian Gulf. Wow. Voting. It's what that represents. It's not the act of the mechanism of you get to express your opinion in some way to do something, whatever. But when they, in the name of you had the chance, and then well, did you vote? When the entire process is totally corrupt, that I've known from the first activism, paying attention, going down the rabbit hole. What the hell? I started with economics. Started with international trade. That's what's like. How the hell are they getting away with this? It was elections. Making you think that you had a voice, making you think you had a choice, making you think, the Matrix, what was the ultimate realization? That it was all an illusion of choice. I know the Matrix is going to tell me that this steak is juicy, and good, and I like, and you know what I've learned? And he puts the steak in his mouth. Ignorance is bliss. And then the strumming of the harp. Stop being a pod person. Pod people get harvested. And all those that think that they're, in with the crowd, they got their $7,000 influencer check from Israel, and they're, promised the sun, wind, the moon, the stars, and you get and whatever, and you too can get your BMW and your green fees and your free hookers and whatever the hell you get, and you got blackmailed into, whatever, you think it was just Epstein. Hell, this is, there's a plethora of this crap. You do it once, you can scale. You got scale on everything. All the university, academia. You got, the financial system. You got Wall Street. You got the political system. Well, you think Epstein was just, the only one? This is, it's systemic. It's us. We're the problem. Just saying. Peace.